neighborhood. Call Joe Murray.
I happen to trust Joe Murray.
First time I ever met Joe Murray was at a Hooters.
Anyways, no Joe Murray tonight. It's Alex Barth with you alongside making his Sports Hub debut, George Balekji. This is fun for me because I've always kind of felt like the newest on-air person here. I know we've had a couple people join since I started. I've never hosted somebody their first time on the air, though. I've never done this. So this is exciting for me. I don't know if it's exciting for you, whatever for you, but George, welcome to the Sports Hub.
So exciting, man. I mean, coming here, moving to Boston 4 years ago, I knew all about the Sports Hub, heard about it, obviously listened to it all the time. And you and I, since day one, be down at Patriots training camp, talking football nonstop. Yeah. So what I was eager about when I was reached out to, hey, we could use it for fill-in and appreciate you. I wouldn't be here without you because you put my name in, someone that could talk all for Boston sports. I'm really excited to be on the Sports Hub. There's really nothing like this station. You guys as a whole grasp the culture here in Boston, the voice of the fans. And growing up listening to WFAN, ESPN New York, I grew up in New Jersey, right outside of New York City. There's a Sports Hub's in a special spot, so I'm excited to be with you these next 4 hours.
We'll get a little more into George's background in a little bit. I had to do, wasn't my first show, it was my first weekday show when I was on with Zoe and Beetle. We had to do a Get to Know Barth segment that I still remember. So we'll do a little Get to Know George later. We do have a member of the Joe Murray program here. Skaz is back behind the glass on a getaway day. This is his final show of the week. Final show of the week for Skaz. So if you call in 617-779-0985, we'll take... We're not going to do too much football tonight, oddly enough, but we have a lot to get to between the Celtics and the Bruins in free agency. We want to get to some Red Sox stuff, too. That cut that Maz played at the end there, the baseball hour, certainly have some thoughts on that. They're getting underway here in a few minutes. But it's pretty wide open tonight, 617-779-0985. You call in, though. Make sure you wish Skaz a happy vacation. As we hope we get him here for the full 4 hours. I know how those vacation days can go. But I want to talk about today being... July 1, it is the turnover of the sports calendar. Even though baseball is in season, this is really where we get into that next year. The rosters for the NFL moving forward for the 2025 season are more or less set. We're now seeing the hockey and basketball rosters set. Yes, again, baseball is in season, but this is where the year kind of begins, right? We're leading up to the All-Star break. The trade deadline talk is heating up. It's going to be a make-or-break month. It's make-or-break month for a lot of teams, especially for the Boston Red Sox. So as we sit here tonight, George, and we'll get more into the specific moves that happened today. We'll have Bobby Manning from CLNS joining us to talk Celtics, Conor Ryan from Boston.com joining us to talk Bruins in a little bit. But as we get into this, these moves, it's really the state of these teams. As we hit kind of an inflection point on the calendar, I was talking to you about this before the show. I generally hate the take that this is X team's most important offseason in a long time. Right? This is their most important offseason in 10 years. This might be their most important offseason ever, blah, blah, blah. Everyone feels like that when you're in it. And I think people don't do a good job of stepping back and really looking at the big picture. That being said, I do believe for the Celtics, for the Bruins, and for the Patriots, this actually was a monumental offseason. And I think the Red Sox just had one. So it is kind of an interesting spot to take stock of all four teams. With the Celtics and Bruins maybe not doing what people wanted. The Red Sox won big last night, but they've come short of expectations. We'll see what the Patriots are. The Patriots might be the only team in town on the upswing right now. It feels like there's a spot for somebody to jump up and take center stage in Boston sports. And maybe that could have happened today. Maybe it still could happen with the Bruins or Celtics. Maybe the Red Sox get another big win tonight as they're about to get underway. The Patriots, if they're going to do it, it's going to be some time. But it does kind of feel like an inflection point in the city for all four teams.
And it's for the Celtics. They're about to enter a season and an offseason where everyone's going on notice. Joe Mazzulla, can you coach? Can you develop? Can you teach a system? And can you adapt to swing back from chucking up way too many threes and actually coach within a game? For the Patriots, you say they're on the upswing, but the Red Sox are the case in point. You could be on an upswing in the offseason. Trade for Garrett Crochet, who's a Cy Young candidate. Sign Alex Bregman, Gold Glove third baseman, amazing bat to have in the 3 spot and a leader in the clubhouse. Great. You had Rafael Devers. You also added a closer in Aroldis Chapman. You beefed up your bullpen. You called up the guys you had to, but for the Red Sox, where are they at? Still below 500. So the Patriots, I love every move they've done this offseason. They still need a guy with the wingspan of a guard in the NFL to play good left tackle for them. And you and I, we love talking the nerd stuff in football, and we can go into that. And with the Bruins, I actually like what they did because they picked a lane during the season. They had to hit reset, and they could call it whatever they want. I know the pressers. But middle of the season, it was going nowhere. And they sold Trent Frederick, Brandon Carlo, obviously Brad Marchand, and it worked out great for him. But they got younger, they got quicker, and then they brought in a more modern head coach with the system. I love what the Bruins did. That's where all these teams are at. The Celtics are going into a reset, and you know what? They have a ring to show for it. That's the one thing I give them.
The
Patriots are on the upswing. The Red Sox went for it, and they still could bounce back. They're right there, and I like what the Bruins picked. We're going to get into all of it.
But this is where what some of these teams are trying to do, and these are opening takes. They're brought to you by Super Service Today, Massachusetts' #1 provider for residential and commercial plumbing, heating, cooling, and drain cleaning. Day or night and always done right. Visit superservicetoday.com. You used the word retool there. Maybe this is an argument of semantics, but I think this is where we are with a lot of these teams right now. Is it a retool or is it a rebuild?
Rebuild.
The Celtics better be in a retool. The Celtics better not be in a full rebuild. The timing of Tatum's injury makes it interesting. I've seen people throw the T word, tanking, out there with the Celtics. I'm sorry, this is not a tank. You're a spoiled fan if you think what the Celtics are doing is tanking. We'll get into that. It's not remotely close to what they are doing. The Bruins feels a little more rebuildy, but when you have David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy, regardless of the performance of Jeremy Swayman, when you have a goalie on that contract, it's kind of tough to do a full rebuild too. The Red Sox are a rebuild. They're bringing up the kids and all of that. It feels like it's more retool city. The Patriots did a rebuild. The Bruins and Celtics feel like they're in the middle of retools. And the bigger question to me is for the Celtics. Was a retool the right move? You had that championship roster. The apron is looming, and that is absolutely a factor. But are they going to remain competitive enough? Are they doing enough this offseason to capitalize on the momentum they built the last 2 years? We're going to start with the Celtics tonight. We will get into the Bruins later. Your calls on all of it, 617-779-0985. We're off and running here. It's Alex Barth and George Balekji on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
I don't think they're moving both Holiday and Porzingis and letting Horford go and not keeping Cornet. And, my understanding is they made the offers they felt that they could go to with Horford and Cornet, and it wasn't close. It wasn't like difficult decisions for those guys to leave. But, like with Cornet, $41 million from Spurs, I don't know what that math works out to with the Celtics, but it's well into 9 figures when you throw in tax. And so, a gap year, a reset year, whatever you want to call it, if they end up missing the playoffs, it's almost like, okay, cool. Then you get to add a lottery pick to the mix as you build back up around that core. Once Tatum returns for 26, 27, but, it's not sexy. It's not fun, but slicing payroll is priority A, B, and C for the Celtics this summer.
That was Tim McMahon this morning. Slicing payroll is priority A. It's priority B. Priority C. It's Alex Barth and George Balekji in for Joe Murray tonight. As the Celtics, the teardown has, it's more than begun. It's been underway, yeah. The question is it done, really? So obviously they traded Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. Was that last week? Couple weeks ago? It's the summer. They're all
it all
together.
Gels together, but it was last week.
Was
it was
it
Drew Holiday 11:30, and then Kristaps Porzingis.
It was
how
like the
clean
next
it was at
morning, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they've done that. Luke Cornet is gone. They've made a couple smaller signings. Luka Garza yesterday
big
as
signing
center.
right there, man.
I like Luke. I got attacked for saying I like Luka Garza last night. We'll talk to Bobby Manning coming up at 8:20.
Why do you like him? Quick. Why do you like him?
So, this gets in my bigger take. So I liked him at Iowa. And at the time, I was like, all right, I wanted to sign him because the Celtics have long had this aversion to size. Like every once in a while, they'll get a guy that's 7'3", but they've also had teams where Jason Tatum's the tallest player. Mm-hmm. And I know the nerds and the way it works now and floor spacing. It's basketball. Height is always going to matter. You need somebody to get rebounds. So I liked him at Iowa. I know it didn't pan out. Am I saying Luka Garza is going to be the big three? Like fill in there with Tatum and Brown? No, absolutely not. I just think, and this is what we're going to get to here, because of where they're at financially, I'm not really, unless they make a trade, but pending a trade, I'm not expecting anything more than dart throws at this point.
Yeah.
Anything more than lottery tickets. As far as lottery tickets go, yeah, give me a shot at Luka Garza. There might be something there as opposed to just some random guy off the street, right? There's a little something there that I'm like, maybe they can tap into this. He's not a replacement for Luke Cornet. They still don't have a starting center. Can he compete with Neemias Queta for the backup center job? Yeah, I think so, maybe. So in that sense, I don't hate it. People jump down my throat for that, though, because I think Celtics fans are frustrated because the team's tearing down. They have this second apron looming, but this is what they have to do. And Brian Robb reported this last night after Cornet signed or before Cornet signed. But Brian Robb reported this last night from Mass Live, and I don't think this quote's got enough attention. He wrote, Boston does have access to the mid-level. Actually, they don't after signing Minot today. They don't because they're back over the second apron, but assuming they make another move and get back under, which we think they're going to do.
When they signed Garza, when they signed him, they were $2 million under the second apron. Now they're back over.
Right.
That's the tough navigation in all of this.
So assuming they're going to do something, it could be something as simple as waiving J.D. Davison, right? But he wrote, Boston does have access to the mid-level exception, or we'll just say when they do, right? But they're unlikely to use it well over the luxury tax, according to a source, due to a desire to reset the repeater tax. And then Chris Forsberg reported earlier today, Felger and Mavs were playing this or mentioning this quite a bit, that the Celtics don't just want to get under the aprons, they want to get under the luxury tax. So this is where this team is at. The question is it the right move? And there are real basketball penalties that come with being over those aprons. I acknowledge that. It's not just the money thing. The money's a part of it. The money's absolutely a part of it. There is more to it than that. To me, the Tatum injury is a factor here. They're not going to win a title without Jason Tatum. That doesn't mean they're going to not be competitive, and I don't want to hear people say they're tanking, because they're not. Jaylen Brown and Derek White are still on this team. They are not tanking. But they're not going to win a title. If you can reset, recoup some of those penalties, get younger, which, by the way, they were becoming a sneaky old team around Tatum and Brown there.
Drew Holiday was going to be 35.
Holiday, Horford, Porzingis, I think, is only like 30, but that's an old 30.
Bingo.
That's an old 30. So I don't hate the idea of them getting younger. You want to get out of those penalties, like, fine. The question is this Jason Tatum's hurt? We have a logical point to reset. We're going to reset. Or is it this is what the new owners are? The new owners put a whole variable in this. Like, if this was still the old ownership, all right, Tatum's hurt, they're resetting. But it's not. So are you concerned about this approach from the Celtics, George?
No, because it came with a ring. And that's what I think when there are the Celtics fans crying. Why are they not signing anybody? You could be one of two things right now. You could be two literal different teams. You could be the Boston Celtics who just hung up the 18th banner and have two elite wings to build around, along with a point guard that impacts the game in every facet in Derek White. Or you could be the Phoenix Suns that have reset time and time again and lost in the finals and never got back. We've seen this team get to multiple finals now, win a ring, get to 4 Eastern Conference finals. And you know what? They went all in knowing this second apron was coming and knowing the CBA was coming. No matter what Brad Stevens says, the minute they extended Drew Holiday, they knew it was a 2-year deal with him. And they went all in and it paid off. And you got a ring. So when they are doing this, sitting on their hands, unable to spend money, offloading Drew Holiday because it saves them $41 million, offloading Kristaps Porzingis because it gets them from a $500 million plus tax penalty and payroll to just under $250 million. They're doing that because they went all in to win a ring, got you that parade that everyone loves to talk about, and now they're dealing with the ramifications.
So here's my question to you, because I would like to think we are holding the Boston Celtics to a higher standard than the Phoenix Suns.
And that's a great point.
How long, like, if this is just, and this is my way, if this is 1 year, Tatum's hurt, we're going to reset, get younger around him, all that. I've compared it to what the Patriots did. You know, really, it's 2 years. It's the year he's hurt, and the year he comes back and he's not 100%. I've compared it to the way the Patriots got younger around Brady after 08 and 09. If that's what it is, and they come back out, and I think Forsberg called the summer 2027 the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Mm-hmm. If they come back out and it's full go, full steam ahead, summer 2027, fine. I actually don't really have a problem with them hitting this reset right now because of the Tatum injury. I'd feel different if Tatum wasn't hurt and they were blowing, years of his prime. But if this is who they are going to be moving forward, that scares me.
No, I don't believe they want to be a team in the East that is weak. Halliburton's gone. The Knicks don't have a head coach. Halliburton's gone for a year. The Knicks don't have a head coach. Who knows if Giannis is in the East come the trade deadline? Same thing with Donovan Mitchell, right? No, when I say all this is they went all in, you're going to have to eat at this free agency and up to the deadline. Because, again, it's all about them getting under the second apron by the end of this upcoming season. That's when they avoid the repeater tax. That's when this all gets real. But this is a team that does all of this to line up, to your point, when Jason Tatum's back. And if I'm running the Celtics, I don't rush him back. I don't care if he recovers in 8 months. I don't care if he recovers in 10 months. Because that's a February, March, April-ish return in that range. I want Jason Tatum back to 100%, which his game coming off a torn Achilles allows him to be. He can get above the rim, but he doesn't play above the rim. It's footwork, it's technique, it's fundamentals for him. But yes, to your point, you're not the Phoenix Suns long-term, but you could have been because you would do all this, have to blow it up and reset without that ring.
Oh, if they didn't win the title last year and they were doing this, would be an all-time painful day in Boston sports.
This is a kick in the teeth time and time again if you don't have that parade.
And honestly, if they hadn't won that ring, and, this didn't happen, and this is not me saying they should do this. If they hadn't won that ring, you know what we're talking about tonight?
Blowing the whole thing up.
Should Jaylen Brown go? Should Derek White go?
Head coach is gone.
Right. Missoula, absolutely. So that's what we'd be talking about. So they got the ring, and that helps. You'd like to think they win one more with the core of Tatum, Brown, and White.
And I believe they do.
But if it doesn't come for 3 or 4 years, I don't want to say that's great. You want your team to win a title, to compete for a title all the time. But if he wins them a couple years apart, so be it.
At worst, I think they're a 7 seed this upcoming season. At best, I think they can be a 3 seed in the East. That's a reflection on the conference. And it's also
mostly a reflection on the conference.
Exactly. Because think about how good the Hawks just got, and I don't think they're done. All of a sudden, they shot up to betting favorites to get Giannis. I'm like, where's that coming from?
Really?
Think about what the Magic did. Yes, they got fleeced in the trade, but they added Desmond Bane to a Paolo Banchero.
So I think you're seeing these teams load up because they know the Celtics are weak and they're trying to capitalize on this window within the Celtics window.
And the Pacers, too.
And the Pacers.
Think about how much worse they got. And another one, for example.
Yeah.
You could be the Indiana Pacers, where you want to avoid the tax so badly, the tax altogether, that you let Miles Turner sign with the Milwaukee Bucks, one of your biggest rivals who you absolutely hate. And you have to face him with Giannis, so we think, for the next 4 years. Boston Celtics fans, if you are complaining right now, as they say, go touch grass and watch that parade.
So I think Celtics fans can be upset today. I think you can be upset. It's going to be, and look.
And it's fine. I get it. Because you don't want to ever see your team do this.
No, and we've had it pretty good watching basketball here the last few years. We have.
But that's my thing.
It's going to be a few tough years ahead. You can not be happy for the few tough years ahead, but you can't say they haven't done enough.
Because in a few years, no matter what, you're going to have number 7 on the court this year. And Derek White.
Right.
And that's going to be a team that gets to the playoffs. And then eventually 0 returns. All before they're 30, except for Derek White.
You kind of hit on it before. I would hope they don't rush Tatum back. Let's say that, and Jaylen Brown's dealing with an injury too. I hope they don't rush him back either. Health needs to be a priority this year. But I would hope they don't get to the All-Star break and they're the 4th seed in the East, and they look at it and they say, well, if we had Tatum, we could be the 4th seed in a really bad Eastern Conference. Let the kid heal. You want him to play a couple games at the end of the season just to get his legs back under him, fine. I really don't want them to rush him back. Meanwhile, we're doing all this just kind of assuming Celtics fans aren't happy about the offseason. Josh in the car feels differently. Josh.
Hey, guys. Great show. And, yeah, I totally feel different. So, listen, I'm a green teamer, right? But I'm also realistic. I actually love what they're doing. And I'm going to tell you why I love what they're doing. I mean, no, it's kind of almost like schizophrenia, but we deal with it. We got our meds and everything else. So, look, you had to get younger. And if you look at the blueprint in the NBA, anybody that's a Celtics fan that's crying about this really needs to get over it because, look, in Derek White and Jaylen Brown, right, and forget about Tatum for right now. He's coming back, but just from those two guys as a building block, we're the envy of 20, 24, 25 teams in the NBA. As a floor. You just said it before. Worst case, we're a 7 seed. I think best case, we're a 3 seed. So look, if for 1 year we get younger, other guys get experience, we get under the cap, then Tatum comes back in 2 years, then we can make a splash. So I love this move. I mean, look, I think 2022 was more painful, the fact that they were right there and could have won a chip and didn't, than what they're doing right now. So,
Josh, let me ask you one question before we hang up here. Are the Celtics a better basketball team on paper today than they were when the season ended in New York?
Absolutely not.
And but you like the direction they're going.
I love the direction because you got to look at how teams are constructed now in the NBA. Look at the blueprint for Oklahoma City, and even go back to 2022. We had 2 young superstars who still were under team control salary-wise, and then, Smart, Rob, Horford, guys with reasonable contracts. OKC is like the blueprint. You've got one super megastar, an all-NBA guy, and then you've got a bunch of guys around him that are really, really good, but still are under salary cap constraints. So yeah. I love what we're doing. I think we're going in the right direction. Sure, is this year going to kind of stink a little bit? Yeah, but you know what? It'll be a little bit exciting because every night that we go to watch a game, you don't know whether they're going to win now. We have no expectations, and that's – listen, I kind of feel like –
all right, I'm gonna cut it there, Josh, because we're up against it, but I appreciate the call. The reason I asked him that question, that's the take. They're a worse team today than they were when the season ended in the second round of the playoffs. They are. They're going to be a worse team on paper this year than they were last year. But they had their short-term window, and they took the short-term approach in that window, and it was the right thing to do, and they got a ring out of it. We talk about this a lot in sports. There's the 1-year window and the 5-year window. In which are you prioritizing? I don't mind the Celtics prioritizing the 5-year window over the 1-year window right now, especially with Tatum hurt. I don't mind them getting back to that outlook. That being said, that means you're sacrificing from the 1-year window, and that is going to hurt a little bit. And that does suck. as long as they come out the other side back in a position to win now, this can't be the MO under the new ownership.
They just got out of a 9-year window. Go back to Tatum and Jaylen Brown both being on the roster. Eastern Conference Finals appearances way ahead of schedule, way before they were ready. And that was the talent they had and the base they had to build around. Now those guys are approaching 30. Brown will be above 30 by the time Tatum gets back. But I agree, and that's what I like about what the Celtics are doing. You have 2 elite wings that are top 25 players in the league. Tatum's top 5. You have Derek White, who's a top 30 player in the league. That is what every general manager would murder for. Now, this is on Brad Stevens. The pressure is on him.
Yeah.
You have to draft right. This is on Joe Mazzulla. And this is on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Because when did they finally win? When Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart became Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. When you had Derek White. Everything had to be perfect around them.
It's going to be their team. It's not Jason Tatum, the best player on a team full of veterans. Jason Tatum is going to be the veteran.
No more Al
leading
Horford
a bunch of young players.
Hand.
Right, we think. We'll see. That might happen tonight during the show. But it sounds like he's gone. So that's it. It's going to be Tatum's team when he comes back. All right, we got to get a quick check of the headlines here. We talked about the Celtics doing the right thing. They're doing the right thing because of the way the league is currently set up. Is the league set up correctly? I have a bone to pick on that. We'll do that after these headlines. It's Alex Barth and George Balekji on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
NHL free agency got underway today. The Bruins made multiple signings, highlighted by the addition of forward Tanner Jeannot on a 5-year deal worth $3.4
Murray gets you right through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
When you have an incoming ownership group like you do here, what's the communication process like in terms of luxury tax, the commitment to spending, that sort of thing as they transition?
Our owners old and new are committed to spending. This is there's a lot of things that go into these moves and a lot of things that are really important. And listen, again, it goes back to prioritizing our flexibility. And, I think the second apron basketball penalties are real. And I'm not sure I understood how real until they were staring me in the face in the last month. So I do think that there's, I think that can't be overstated.
So that was Brad Stevens after the draft on the aprons. It's Alex Barth, George Balekji with you, and for Joe Murray, we got Skaz behind the glass. And this is just a bigger bone I want to pick with the NBA. Like, if you want to have the conversation about are the Celtics being cheap, there's definitely an element of that here. But there are real basketball penalties behind this. And the NBA put this in the last CBA. It was coming out of the super team era where you had the Celtics big three, and then the Heat, and then the Warriors, and basically wanting to... What they should have done was make it harder to build a super team. What they did was make it impossible. So here's some of the penalties.
You're right.
First apron penalty. Team loses access to sign and trades if the player acquired in the deal puts them over the first apron. Team cannot sign waived players with a salary above the mid-level exception. And when trading, teams cannot use more than 100% in salary matching in a trade. The second apron is all of that plus no mid-level exception. You cannot aggregate player salaries in a trade. You cannot use trade exceptions. And you cannot send out cash in trade negotiations. And I think that I'm just reading off USA Today. There's also some draft pick penalties as well, which...
Basically, if you could... Say you finish and you're in the second apron and you have the 16th pick, boom, gets pushed back to the end.
So the one thing on that, if you're in the second apron and you finish 16th, what the hell happened? You should not have that kind of payroll and nearly be in the lottery. You deserve it at that point. That team deserves to be punished, and I'm fine with that. Like, I hate the max contract. I hate the concept of the max contract because it bails out stupid teams. It prevents teams from overpaying players. And you just get some players that are overpaid ridiculously because they're not worth the max. They're worth like a good amount, but not a max. But somebody will just give them the max because they want them.
Bradley Beal.
Right. It bails out stupid teams. But my problem with this is you're just punishing player retention. Any sort of player retention, because these salaries keep going up and up and up. And yes, the apron is tied to the cap and all of that, but the percentage of the cap of which they're worth is going up and up and up. And the NBA, NBA fans tend to be more fans of players than teams, which I don't think is entirely sustainable in the big picture, and I think is part of the reason they're having some of these ratings problems. You want good players to become part of the DNA of a franchise. A guy like Miles Turner should spend at least the majority of his career, certainly his prime, in Indianapolis. And they did have to disincentivize players from asking out, which they sort of did. But they've now they've decentivized the teams from keeping their players. So the NBA is going to have a long, hard look at this when the CBA comes up again, because I don't think this is a Celtics-specific issue. I know I probably sound, as a Celtics fan, a little biased going off about this. If this is how good teams are going to have to operate, yeah, you want a little parity. You don't want the same teams winning every year. You also don't want just teams being inconsistently good, bad, up and down every single year. You want some sort of heroes and villains in that. And I think this CBA kind of eliminates that.
Let me tell you from this perspective. I'm not a Celtics fan. Now, I've lived in New Jersey, in Joplin, Missouri. That was an experience. Madison, Wisconsin, and now here in Boston for 4 years. Wherever I am, though, I do want that city to have a good time. So do I want the Celtics to succeed? Yeah. But I'm more like the modern day NBA fan. Because growing up in New Jersey, the second the Nets went to Brooklyn, I said, forget you. Why would I still want to root for you? And I became a nomad in a way. But you know something else, though? You know why I didn't become a lawyer, Barth? Because I couldn't do that much school. You know why I didn't become an accountant, Barth? I can't do numbers like that. Well, that's the other
thing. Don't make me do all this stupid math and learn all these rules.
Instead of enjoying free agency and putting together teams And going through how it can work and talking basketball, we've talked second and first aprons, we've talked tax penalties, and we talked all those other penalties you've laid out. And that's what the free agency has become. And it's swung from the best free agency in all of sports because it is mayhem and it is signings being leaked out well before. And then when 601 hits, it goes crazy to now all of this maneuvering. And that's what I hate about this. I do like it brings parity because we saw the Lakers, the Heat, the Warriors all go back to back, become those dynasties, and them figure out how to put together super teams and make it happen. I love having parity in this league and a different team that can bring it home. But at the same time, think about the runs we've seen just the last 2 years alone. I mean, the Warriors, Celtics, that was a great playoff run on both sides. And then the Warriors come out on top. Celtics ran through the East, run in the finals. The Thunder ran through the West. Interesting finals, and obviously Game 7, Tyrese Halliburton tears his Achilles, different story. But I do like it brings parity. With all of this too, I agree with the Supermax. It bails out dumb teams. It also, to players that could be loyal to a fault, like Damian Lillard. Why did you stay in Portland so long? And by the time you get out, it's too late. And now look, he gets
but
waived.
I don't hate that. I liked that he was there for a long time. There's not enough of that
But
in
he
the
was
NBA.
bailing out a dumb team. Portland never built around it properly. He'd get them to the playoffs and be the hero.
Yeah.
But also it prevented Portland, and now maybe this helps them. I mean, the Thunder just won. So who's not to say the Portland Trailblazers can win one day either?
Sure, but I think it makes it tougher. The reason I like Damian Lillard in Portland was he was drafted there, he was developed there. That's why that Celtics-Warriors finals was so special. Like, yes, you had the Durant side of things, but for the most part, those were two teams that drafted and developed their way onto a championship stage, which was a lost art coming out of the Celtics, Heat, Big Three eras, right? And the NBA had in place incentivized teams. You want to incentivize teams to keep their own players. And if it's exorbitant spending on your own players, fine. What you don't want is we're going to throw $200 million at this guy to come from this city and $250 million at this guy to come from this city, and we're just going to build a team from scratch. That's what you don't want. And there's got to be some sort of happy medium here, right?
We've seen the Clippers try it, multiple versions. We've seen the 76ers try it and give that $200 million to the wrong guy. But again, they're hand forced to give it to a Joel Embiid.
Well, the Sixers also drafted and developed and blew it. The Sixers might just be a bad organization.
They trusted the process, and the process blew up in their face.
The Buffalo Bills of basketball.
We'll see what they do with Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, that one will work.
But that is what I understand too. I love the parody of it. I hate that we have to become accountants and figure out how to read all the fine print. Give me what the soft cap to the hard cap is. Give me what the tax penalties are, and let's go from there. But all this first apron, second apron, all this minutia makes it so just hard to follow in a way of like it's exhausting. Sign the guys, don't sign them. The biggest signings was Triple J extending with Memphis, and then Miles Turner eventually signing with the Bucks. And also the big news too was Damian Lillard getting waived.
Yeah.
And that's the maneuvering they have to do. But we still see it as it's coming down with how it all breaks down of the East got a little better. The Rockets made the big swing.
Yeah.
Then that's the extra layer to it. It's in a way them trying to get the power back from the players because what Kevin Durant did with Phoenix, who did everything he asked, was nasty work. He kept shooting down trades to drive down his price until finally Houston wouldn't be decimated when he got there.
Right, because he didn't want to go to a bad team.
And that's fair by him. But also, Phoenix is trying to help themselves because they rolled out the red carpet for you. They got Bradley Beal because of you. Because it's the same stuff. LeBron James picks up his player option, $53 million. Yeah. Great. And then he goes, I'm going to monitor what they're doing closely. No roster decision is made without LeBron James giving the green light. So what are you going to do, LeBron James? It's too much power in the players' hands, and they're trying to swing the pendulum the other way, and it's going to be ugly for a while until the dust settles.
They've gone way too far in that other direction. Way too far in that other direction. And it's just, again, if you can't build narratives and storylines and teams being rivals and players being rivals on, like, you know, players can still be rivals, but if you have two guys in the same division, for whatever divisions mean in the NBA anymore, if you have, they play a little more. If you have two guys in the same division versus two guys in opposite conferences, they're not going to play as much. So, like, you need to be able to build those through lines. You need to be able to maintain those rivalries, those sorts of things, because that's what, if you have so many neutral fans, That's what the neutral fans are watching for, because they're not watching for their team, good or bad, rain or shine, win or loss. So the NBA potentially has a massive budding problem here with the CBA. There's also the thing about the season being too long. They're not going to take games away. That will never happen. But the NBA might have a big problem here with the CBA, and now it's up to the Celtics to navigate it. They've got to stay, because it's not going to change anytime soon. They've got to stay competitive in this current layout, and we talk all the time. We used to do this all the time about when we talk about the Patriots' success, putting it in the context of the salary cap era, right? Bill Belichick building the teams he did in the salary cap era. I've been very impressed with Brad Stevens as a general manager. I think that was, nobody saw that move coming. I don't think there were very many people that liked it when they moved him upstairs. People either wanted to see him stay the coach, he had his fans as a coach, or there were people who wanted to see him out entirely. Remember, people thought it was like, I remember this was a take of time, like there's a year left on his contract and they can't fire him without paying him a lot of money, so they're going to stick him upstairs for a year and then just let him go. Like, sneaky, incredible move that nobody saw coming. I think he's such a better general manager than a head coach. I can't even believe he was coaching and nobody talked. I can't even believe he was coaching and nobody tapped into this sooner. He wants to get into that next echelon. We could talk about a Celtics team that dominated the apron era, because I think it's going to be an era. It's not going to stay this way. It's going to change. Can Brad Stevens navigate, be the team to dominate that apron era? What would they need to do to be that team? And does that start this offseason? We'll get to that next. It's Alex Barth and George Balekji on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
Sports Hub, Alex Barth, George Balekji in for Joe Murray. I'm getting that right?
Say it again.
George Balekji?
Got it. Bingo.
All right, perfect. Let's go to Chris in the car on the NBA CBA. Chris.
How's it going, guys? So, Barth, I think it's real simple to me. You're just going to give exceptions in the new CBA. You know, they have to give exceptions for players that the team drafted. And, you know, there's some hurdles. There's some, you know, you can't use a mid-level, can't add cash to trades, that kind of stuff. But, you know, I still think if you just do that one thing real simple for them, I think it's fair.
Yeah, Chris, that seems like the way to do it. And they had this. This is what the Supermax was. It incentivized teams to keep their drafted players, and it incentivized players to stay with the teams that drafted them because you could offer a bigger contract, and it was sort of kind of salary cap exempt. Not really, but like you could go over the cap with these contracts. They need to incentivize teams to keep the players they draft. They need to incentivize players to stay with the teams that drafted them. Whatever you want, however you want to work that into a cap or a luxury tax or aprons, fine.
Third apron.
Miles Turner wanted to stay in Indy. Indy wanted to keep Miles Turner. They like on a certain dollar amount. They just couldn't make it work because of the Fakakta apron. Because they drafted him, lifer, like that should be doable.
Even players like Bruce Brown that left Denver, he played himself out of a contract for cheap ownership. And then he ends up back because he played his way back into their budget.
Yeah.
But something like that where there could be a price where it's another year of tenure, let's say $5-7 million more a year, but it counts like what other teams would give against a cap. It'd be perfect, but you can only get that with the team you drafted. Same thing with a player that maybe is signed and then signs another extension or second contract with them. That second contract's in favor of this player staying with the team and the team developing, but eventually playing them.
Sure, just re-signing your own players.
That's what it is, right? Any which way around it. And that would make a ton of sense. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, $71.5 million a year. He just got.
What was it? You had the breakdown earlier. $1.2 million a week.
$1.48 million a week he makes. Can I get 1 week?
I know.
Can I get half a week? Let me be real. Can I get 2 days?
Give me Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly.
Give me Tuesday afternoon. I'll be set for a month.
That's all I need.
Right.
He's getting $1.48 million in a week. Hey, and good for him.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
It was the same thing I had when people were going irate about Jaylen Brown becoming the highest paid player in the history of the NBA.
Yeah.
He specialized at something, playing basketball, and he played the game perfect, literally. And the money game. He earned all NBA. He earned all pro. He stayed with the team. He got the Supermax. The same way these owners play the game with the players all the time. Jaylen Brown played it himself. SGA played it himself. That's 35% of the cap he's taking, though. Too much becomes too much. And I love me some SGA. I love how the Thunder built it. To your point of what Brad Stevens could become, to enter a one-of-a-kind conversation for general managers, he figured out how to build a team as a head coach going into a GM. He figured out how to go all in and win a ring perfectly with trades and building a roster around 2 elite wings.
Yeah.
And now let's see if he can figure out the second apron. Because if he can figure out the new way to build teams and win, man, that makes him one of the best GMs ever in a very difficult and nerdy way of building teams. And I'm talking from accountants.
Well, it's also, this is the hardest era to build a team in NBA history. Just plain and simple. This is the hardest era. And not, when we say build a team, and I don't want to speak for you, but for me, when I say, I don't mean one-off, hey, we got a bunch of good talent, we won 1 year, we blew it up. I'm talking about, can they be championship contenders for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, right?
Yes.
Sustained success.
And that's what they just came out of for 9 years, since 16.
So this is my point. If Brad Stevens is going to go in that, dare I say, Pat Riley conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keeping and maybe they're not a title contender this year, but like getting right, they're in the playoffs, they're in the mix this year, and they're back to a title contender when Tatum comes back, and they're on that path for another almost a decade. Like that would be in this era very impressive. We got to get a quick check of the headlines. I want to get back to this. How does Brad Stevens go about that? What should the Celtics do next? Are they going to do anything next? They're probably going to do something next. It would be pretty disappointing if they did all that work to get under the apron, only to go back over it for Josh Minot. No offense to him. But there's more coming. What comes next? First, we're going to get a quick check of the headlines, including a Red Sox development here. And then we'll be right back. 90 seconds, no commercials. Alex Barth, George Balekji on the Sports Hub.
From the Telker Type Studios. WBZ-FM and HD1. It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Paisley Media Group Station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
NHL free agency got underway today. The Bruins making multiple signings, highlighted by the addition of forward Tanner Jeannot on a 5-year deal worth $3.4 million per. Team also brought back Sean Kuraly in free agency and traded for Victor Arvidsson from the Edmonton Oilers. Meanwhile, the Celtics have been in free agency mode since last night. The team's made 2 additions, both former Minnesota Timberwolves. After signing center Luka Garza last night, they signed wing Josh Minot this afternoon to a 2-year, $5 million deal. Elsewhere in the NBA, it's been a busy day. SGA, the reigning MVP, gets a 4-year, $285 million contract extension from the Thunder, and the Milwaukee Bucks waived Damian Lillard and then signed center Miles Turner. Over at Fenway, the Red Sox have just gone into a rain delay in the top of the third. The Sox lead 2-1 at the time of the stoppage, according to Max Cerullo on social media. It hasn't started raining yet at Fenway. There are imposing clouds, and there's been some lightning strikes in the area as well. So we'll see again. Top of the fourth, 2-1 Red Sox in a rain delay. And in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins made another trade. They acquired tight end Darren Waller from the New York Giants. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Premier Basement Waterproofing. Now's the time for crawl space encapsulation. And don't forget to ask about the Santa Fe dehumidifier to keep humidity out this summer. 844-LIVE-DRY or premierbasement.net. It's game over for water. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Chris, we're going to start with you and the tweet you just put out about Giannis.
Yeah, sources that relayed to me that Giannis Antetokounmpo is not pleased with the Bucks' decision to buy out Damian Lillard for the remainder of his contract, and he just didn't like how it was handled. And so, Giannis, this whole
the buttons here. No Boston accent from you. And I'm not hating.
No, I used to have a little bit of one. I still do on some words. I went to school in upstate New York.
Where in upstate?
Ithaca.
Oh, okay.
So there's a whole
college,
Ithaca army here at Sports Hub. You'll learn. So like some things I would say there, like they'd all freak out. Like, what do you call? You put your clothes in
dryer.
No, that you pull out. You after the dryer, you fold them. You put them in the
drawer.
Draw.
You call it a draw.
So I did not know. I actually thought that word was DRAW until I went to college. I did not know there was an R. Room is another one.
No way.
But it's not. There used to be a few more. I don't know. It went away. Yeah. So a little bit, but not pronounced.
I when you said game over for water, made me think of it.
Well, so that's the bit. That's the read.
Oh, of course. No, I understand it. It's like 100% with the marketing. I just say when I come across a Boston accent, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I have some friends from Taunton. My fiance, her family's from Saugus, so we get some of that. Home of Kowloon, of course. Shout out Kowloon. When I hear it, what I do hate is I get it now when I say I'm from Boston. I'm traveling. Oh, I'm visiting here from Boston. I live in Boston.
Yeah.
Where's your accent? Same thing, and I understand it being from Jersey. Again, I own both sides, all to it, all the way. Love being here in Boston. Love that I grew up in Jersey. Wouldn't want to change anything. Where's your accent? Moron. Not everyone talks that way.
Well, it's like, so I would
struck a chord, as you can tell.
Well, so like when I was in college, right, all the guys from Jersey and New York and Connecticut, like that, there were a lot of people from that was the tri-state area, right?
Yeah.
Like we'd be hanging out and they would just be yelling at me to like quote lines from Ted because that movie just come out. Like I can do the accent more than I have it. So, you owe me lobster money, that sort of thing. So, although if I start doing it, it'll start coming back up. But, yeah, not a ton. It comes up here and there. Also, it'll just sometimes come up. If I'm really like angry or excited, or if it's just like I'm really going, it will come out a little more.
Yeah, that's me with the Jersey accent, 100%. Get a few bevs in me, too.
That'll do it. That will always do it, too.
100%. And when I get a little angry, like the Jersey comes out in me. I will say this, too, for anyone listening and wondering. The Sopranos and the Jersey Shore, very, dead-on accurate depictions of New Jersey. The Sopranos, so many of my friends, aunts and uncles, I'm Armenian Lebanese, I'm not Italian, but so many of my friends, aunts and uncles, they were those people.
Yeah.
And watching the Jersey Shore, that was me and my boys growing up. Minus the hardcore drugs. We were too young at that time of the culture. Spiked hair.
But you're a big gym tan laundry guy?
Oh, yeah, that would. But it's also the most accurate thing ever. We had it, and before T-shirt time became a thing.
Yeah.
We'd be getting ready. We'd be in our tanks, and we'd go, okay, it's time to get ready. And then you put on your T-shirt because it has to stay perfectly fresh, and you see it happen in front of the nation. Both very accurate.
See, I never, because I went to school with a lot of people that are from Jersey or, how much crossovers there were. So half my family's from Long Island. My mom's side of the family, they're all from Long Island.
Oh, what part? North, south?
Woodmere.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
No, okay.
My sister lives in Massapequa Park. That's
Okay,
as far as
I don't know. I'm so bad at New York geography. Like, we all have friends that live in Manhattan. They'll be like, like 34th Street. I'm like, where?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can get lost on that grid. That's how bad I am at all that. But like, yeah, there was all that stuff. I'm like, this is real, huh? Like watching the Long Island and the New Jersey people. I was like, this is real. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there. They're like, so it's like, is the town real? Is the Departed real? I'm like, I guess. I don't know. Like, is Good Will Hunting real? Like, I mean, Harvard exists. MIT exists. There's smart people there. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
There are custodians there, too?
There are, yeah.
I will say this, too. Favorite movie for me growing up was Good Will Hunting. Before I moved here. Guys, I would never brown nose to try to fit in.
Transplant test. Top 3 Boston movies.
Me personally.
You personally.
It's Good Will Hunting will always be my number 1.
Okay.
The Town is number 2.
Okay.
But I think I've only seen 3 Boston movies now that I think of it. So The Departed by default falls into 10.
So I was more worried about you keeping stuff off that list. Like, pound for pound, terrible movie, Fever Pitch.
Oh, awful.
Can't stand it. And people are like, oh, that's like such a Boston movie. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's what people think Boston is, but it's not. Like, I'll give you those things, because those are all just really good movies.
You know what I love, too? I lived in Charlestown.
Yeah.
For a couple years. And the best thing was, I don't know why it took me so long, but I finally watched The Town. And my favorite part, the ending scene, when Dougie's planting all the evidence, getting to the bus, riding the T, and Claire's running through.
Yeah.
I was watching and I go, this is so inaccurate for how Claire would get from her apartment to the garden. And I was like, I'm a damn townie.
That's the big thing with all those movies. Like, what do you mean you got from Eastie to the South End in 5 minutes?
Yes.
How? Where? Wait, you got from there's this movie on Netflix. Oh, what is it called? It's a Mark Wahlberg movie. It was right on Netflix. It's based on a TV show from the 80s.
Is it the one where he's a priest that like is in a wheelchair?
No, he's like a detective. I'm gonna look it up in a second.
The Departed.
No, no, it's based. Spencer Confidential, I think, is what it's called. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I never saw it.
I don't know how many people watched this. I was bored one night in the summer a few years ago. It was raining. I watched it, but it's based in Boston. But they show scenes of him driving over the Four River Bridge, which is in Quincy. But like, and I happen to be living, like I happen to be down the street from the Four River Bridge at the time. And it was so, it took me out of the immersion so much, because it's like, okay, he's in Brookline, and then they show him driving over the Four River Bridge.
Yes.
And now he's downtown. I'm like, that's 30 minutes away. And it's just I get it. It's just a generic shot of a bridge. Most people watching don't know that, but it drove me nuts.
It matters.
And multiple times they used the shot of this bridge, and at no point was he in Quincy.
And that's a part. Just give me some accuracy, and The Town captures that. How she got from point A to point B wasn't accurate, but the location was fantastic. And also the best thing, too, one day I'm walking from where I lived to the liquor store right in Charlestown. I was going to get my brother-in-law a bottle for Christmas. And I'm walking by the guy that makes the Townie sweatshirts, Blue-Eyed Johnny. And I just see and I go, I'm like, you're selling these? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, hey, I've only lived here a year or two. I'm like, am I allowed? He goes, yeah, you're good. And this guy was a mayor, knew everybody walking by. I got myself a hoodie, my brother-in-law a hoodie, and I got him a shirt too. One of the best hoodies I own. And wearing it, coincidentally, I just moved to Wakefield. Haven't run into Big Jim Murray yet, but I'll see if I do.
Okay.
Just checking on the house. Someone walking by is like, where'd you get that hoodie? I'm like, got it from Johnny in Charlestown. He's like, yeah, it's my brother. And he points to his house. So Charlestown's following me wherever I go.
There you go.
My favorite part of the city by far. I've lived in Brighton. I lived in Somerville. Charlestown, absolutely love it. Except for the Gilmore Bridge. Like, they shut down lanes on that. It's stupid. That's one bane of my existence, but love being over there.
It was Spencer Confidential, by the way. If you like,
It was.
do you know what a dad movie is? Have you heard that phrase, like a dad movie?
No.
It's like the plot doesn't really matter, and like the acting's maybe not great, but it's just like a lot of action and one-liners and things like that.
100%.
If you ever just want to zone out and watch a really stupid movie that will entertain the hell out of you,
Spencer
Confidential, and it is local, although you're going to be annoyed by the Fore River Bridge.
I'll like to throw out real quick 617-779-0985. Either rank your favorite Boston movies.
Okay.
Tell me your favorite character from The Sopranos or Jersey Shore, or your biggest gripe with Boston overall.
So I was on.
You ever watch The Sopranos? I should like.
Yeah.
Favorite character?
I mean, it's Paulie.
Paulie Walnuts.
So I was on the night Tony Sirico died, and I was like, oh, we should do a bit, like, we should do something with this. And this was like one of the first times I hosted. And I was like, yeah, great character, great actor, played a great character. Call in, let's relive it. What's your favorite Paulie line? And then I remembered I was on an FCC radio station. I was like, hang on, wait a minute. We're all going to have to be very mature about this.
Get the dump button ready.
Yeah, let's get the dump. Skaz, you might have been producing that night. I was like, this is a bad. I realized as soon as I said it. So if you want to talk Boston movies, you want to grill George, see if he's reached townie status yet. 617-779-0985. You know who does have a Boston accent, a good Boston accent? Bobby Manning. And we will talk to him next about the Boston Celtics coming up here on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
put something together to try to keep him. But I always said, Jimmy, if it was 1 to 2 years elsewhere, and it was 1 year last year, the offer he had, they could make that work, right? String some stuff together, trade one of these guys, wiggle a little further below the second apron line, and just keep him here. But 3 years was going to be tough. And then if it got to 4 years, impossible to match this here for the Celtics. $41 million. All you had to get to was 10.5 annual value, I guess. So they maybe could have done that, but this is a hefty contract.
That was Bobby Manning last night on the Garden Report on CLNS, dealing with the departure of one of his favorite Celtics, Luke Cornett. Look, I like Luke Cornett. He was a good Celtic. He's a fun guy. You would have thought they lost like an all-NBA player. People are going a little much. Bobby's allowed to because Bobby was the first guy on the Luke Cornett trade when he got here. I think the first stint in 2021. So we had to get Bobby on tonight to talk about Luke Cornett and the Celtics. He joins us right now from CLNS Media, Bobby Manning. Bobby, how are you doing post Luke Cornett?
It's tough. I was looking at some stats today at his impact. This is from Synergy. 4th in field goal percentage allowed in the restricted area last year among players facing over 250 shots behind Chet, Victor, Daniel Gafford. So that was my thing all along with Luke. I loved his personality. I love his role on the team and some of the theatrics like the Cornett contest and all that. But the one thing I always stressed is that he was really good. And I think it took people a long time to realize that because a lot of it was subtle impact or things outside the stat sheet or screening, stuff like that. I know you're a football guy, Alex. It's like offensive line play I compare it to. But he reached a level this year where you actually started to see it in the stat sheet and in the scoring and on the rebounds and all that. But all 5 years, he was doing things that just made life easier for other players. And it took, obviously, 4 or 5 years to develop him into a guy that could impact the game at that level. And that's the difficult thing now with this team is they don't have any reliable players at center, and it takes a long time to develop players at that position. They're in a tough spot there.
So this is another thing I'm with you on. They signed Luka Garza last night. A nice little signing, dart throw. I don't think he replaces Luke Cornett. I don't hate them taking the shot on him. They've signed him. They've signed Josh Minott. Obviously, they've lost Cornett. Al Horford's status is still up in the air. Porzingis Holiday traded. Certainly, there's more to come. How do you feel about what they've done so far in between Garza and Minott, who are here on what are basically minimum contracts? Are those guys going to make any sort of impact this year, or are they here to fill out a roster spot?
And they're here to fill out a roster spot, and they're good flyer players. The one thing Brad's always liked doing is the redrafts and guys that ended up on other teams that they maybe liked but couldn't acquire at that time. They go out and get once those teams end up moving on from those guys. He did it with Jaden Springer, Delano Banton. There's been a handful of those guys over the years, and they've never hit big on any of them. And that's how it goes usually with those players. There's a reason that the other team ends up letting them go. But I like Garza too. He's a good pick-and-pop option. He has that skill set. I love his ability to seal smaller defenders. He was a phenomenal college player, but it hasn't translated yet. I think he has 18 G League games with Minnesota. He was averaging over 30 a game, so he might be one of those 4A players that thrives down there and can't quite impact the league. But he hasn't gotten a chance to play a ton in the NBA either. So that'll be the interesting thing this year is they can actually give younger guys, developmental guys, some minutes. I know that's not what people want to hear, but that's the only way you can actually start turning those guys into NBA players is to start putting them in regular opportunities. And Garza is someone I'm high on, but I try to separate that praise for him and my enjoyment for his game from the fact that he's not going to replace Porzingis, Cornett, Horford, even if he ends up departing here. So these aren't even stopgap options for those guys that they lost. These are flyer roster players that we're seeing right now come in and try to show they can be NBA players. And I think that's the difficult part for a lot of people right now is that they don't have certain spots on the roster filled. Certainly the one Tatum vacated at the wing, and then the center one is just massive because as much as basketball is positionless now, you do need a center who can do things on both ends of the floor reliably, especially the way that they play. Like, I wonder what Joe's thinking right now as he's looking at this roster and trying to figure out how this is going to come together. Obviously, it's incomplete, but the more and more you look at this, it doesn't look like they're trying to field a competitive roster this year. It looks like the financials are the first thing they're trying to address.
Yeah, I think that's great perspective you put on that, Bobby Manning of CLNS Media with us talking the Boston Celtics. Bobby, I think that's great perspective you put with the Luka Garzas. That's a guy that can light it up in G League, less athletes, but he's not quick enough to get up and down the NBA floor. And you mentioned that you wonder what Joe thinks of this roster. We know Anthony Simons is on this, and this is a guy that fits what he loves, but they're back over the second apron. What do you think is next for the Celtics? And not just a offload of Simons maybe in a trade, but who's a player out there that they could trade for, make the roster better, but also money-wise you think makes sense?
Well, they could trade Simons for two guys who make like $10 million each, something like that. I think that's how the money would shake out there if they're trying to shed $7 million off of his contract. I don't think he'll be on the team next year, even though he's an intriguing player. I do look around the league right now and struggle to find a team that would want him. I mean, Dallas filled their point guard need with D'Angelo Russell. Nickeil Alexander-Walker went to Atlanta. They had some trade exceptions. Not one big enough for Simons, I don't think. But there were a handful of teams there that maybe could have used some guard help. But that's the most bloated position in the league. I think you can look at any roster and a team will have a point guard, a ball handler that they like. So I don't think there's a straightforward path to finding a home for him, a destination for him. And, with this whole Kornet-Horford situation here, I think they wanted to keep those guys. I think they wanted to create some flexibility and room to, give them competitive offers, but they couldn't find a home for Simons, and I think that's going to continue to be a challenging thing. They might have to take him into the year and try to have him increase his value by actually playing for them, which I don't mind. And again, with the second apron luxury tax stuff, you don't have to address that until the end of the year, and so the trade deadline is effectively the deadline to make those moves to actually avoid the tax, to actually avoid second apron penalties. So there's no urgency there. They can move with some patience and cautiousness there and not try to make bad deals. But as much as the Holiday deal was praised at the time, and I did too, I think you're starting to see why that was a move that Portland did, because they probably didn't have the biggest market for Simons and ended up getting back a really good player in Holiday for it. And if you remember, Alex, they sent picks with Simons, and I think that's always telling too when it comes to what the value of each player is in a trade.
Again, we're talking to Bobby Manning from CLNS Media. So you wrote going into free agency sort of about how the Celtics, they weren't going to make a deal just to shed money. They want to make a deal where they feel they're getting a legitimate return for the player. And you said there they don't have to get under the apron until the end of the year. So is there a chance they go into the season, because they're over the second apron right now, just barely, but they are. Is there a chance they go into the season over the second apron? And then if they do, doesn't that create kind of a bad situation? Because what if you're good? What if they're without Tatum, they're like in contention, they're rolling, but now you have to sell at the deadline? Like, do you really think they'd go into the season over the apron?
I could see it, and probably just an inch over. I don't think they're going to be millions and millions over where they can't get under it. I think it's like the tax line. A lot of times you'll look back at different years and they'll be like an inch over the tax line, and then if you're non-contention, you slide below with a couple different moves. And there's some activity closer to the deadline. Obviously, most of the trades are going to happen in the offseason and around the draft, but they have the flexibility going into the season with a bunch of different stuff. Some non-guarantees. J.D. Davison's deal is obviously non-guaranteed. Walsh's is very partially guaranteed up until the season starts. So they can bring a bunch of guys in the training camp, see who sticks, see who they're ready to move on from at that point, and then start to address the financials there. I'm interested in the tax because, again, Alex, as you look at this roster, I don't think as it stands as a scenario where they're going to be way more competitive than people think, especially without a starting caliber center. I like Keita, but, unproven there, a guy they didn't play late in the year. They're not going to be above the tax line even, I don't think, if this is the kind of roster they're going to field this year. It just doesn't make sense. There's repeater penalties that you can start resetting there, and they're like $15, $16, $17 million over the tax right now. So I actually think there's a lot of work still to do with this roster, and I know a lot of fans are still holding out hope that something will make sense from a basketball standpoint at the end of this thing. But right now, I think when you just stack up all the moves they've made, Porzingis for $20 million in savings, moving back in the second round so they can draft draft two-way guys who don't have cap hits. These minimum signings that they're making right now, it just doesn't look like their focus is fielding the most competitive team possible this year, according whatever word you want to use there. So I think a lot of their moves are going to be, angling financially, and they'll look for guys if they can make sense into the future. But right now it's been flyers, it's been second-round picks who are developmental guys. Even the first-round pick in Hugo Gonzalez, who I'm excited about, is a long-term player, right? So I think all their moves have spoken for themselves. You saw Brad's press conference last Wednesday. He didn't look thrilled with what they're doing right now and, where they were headed, obviously, at that point. So they're in a tough spot, and the Tatum injury is what throws everything off here right now. Who knows what this offseason would have looked like if he didn't get hurt. But right now, I think they're sending a pretty strong message here that they're not going to be in position to compete this season, at least for now, barring something unexpected.
Yeah, I agree that Tatum injury throws the biggest wrench in this. Tatum not injured. Win or loss, repeating as champs. Do you think they're still hitting this hard reset, Bobby?
Yeah, I actually do think they would have made some similar moves. I think you're probably not offloading your centers, and Al Horford's probably not looking at destinations to leave. So there are a couple differences that probably happen if Tatum's healthy. But given the fact that it sounds like they explored Brown and White's value and didn't want to make a move there, that they needed to make a massive luxury tax reduction. And I know people will roll their eyes at that, but it doesn't make sense without Tatum to spend hundreds of $millions in tax when you can reduce that fairly easily with a couple different moves there, especially the Holiday one, getting off that 3-year deal, I think was smart. For Porzingis, I maybe would have gone a different way there, but who knows how they actually feel about his health and his game at this point. But I do think they're looking at reducing luxury tax hit. The second apron thing, I was listening to Felger talk about that yesterday. I'm actually with him on this. I don't think the basketball penalties are that prohibitive. The trade thing is the aggregation of the salaries, and we'll see what kind of trades they end up making with that flexibility that they'll gain here, it looks like, in the near future. But the mid-level, the buyout stuff, the cash and trades, I don't think that stuff's that prohibitive. I'm looking at the money. I'm looking at the luxury tax, and I don't blame them for not wanting to spend $250 million in tax on a team that doesn't have Tatum this year by all probability. But it's tough when you're looking at a team making moves that are primarily financially driven, which is what all these appear to be right now. These just haven't been basketball moves, and it's hard to blame them for that. You end up in that situation where you go all in and you fall this short and you have an injury like that. You're going to have to start to set yourself up for the future a little bit. But it was always going to be painful, and it's been painful so far.
He is Bobby Manning. You can check him out on clnsmedia.com, co-host of The Garden Report. You can find him on social media at Real Bob Manning. Bobby, thanks for joining us, and hopefully you get somebody else to hitch your wagon to post Luke Cornett. We'll see.
I'm on the Garza train, and we'll start the bandwagon.
All right, me and Bobby on the Luka Garza bandwagon.
I'm staying far away from that.
Luka to Boston, that's right. Luka to Boston. Bobby, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, man.
He is Bobby Manning from CLNS. I always do that. I always supposed to hang up, and I go to turn my mic off instead of hang up the phone.
That move.
Yeah.
But good, switch.
I didn't all the way turn it off this time, so that's good. Got to recollect my thoughts here after the whole coordination thing. Let's check the headlines. We'll come back. Again, George Balekji with us, works at Ness, and you probably know him from there. Boss has entered the chat. It is his first time on the Sports Hub, so let's get to know George a little bit, because it won't be his last time on the Sports. I feel safe saying that. You're doing a good job so far.
I'm checking my phone. No text from Loud.
Nothing from Loud. All right, well, we'll see how this segment goes. We'll get to know George next here. Plus your call, 617-779-0985. Here it's Alex Barth and George Balekji on The Joe Show.
Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Celtics are full go in free agency mode. It's been about 24 hours. They've made two moves. They've added center Luka Garza. That was last night. And today they signed wing Josh Minot to a 2-year, $5 million deal. Meanwhile, Luke Cornett heads out. He's going to San Antonio. Elsewhere in the NBA, the Thunder have signed
Felger and Maz are just his pregame.
They've been getting wholesale deals for years.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hall.
Practice. And how would you pronounce that? Balekji? George? I want to go to his Twitter account and give him George Balekji. Okay. And I apologize if we're butchering your name. Sorry, George. They call him Belosh. Belloc. How do you spell that? Give me a spelling on that. Okay, so George, Balekji. George Balekji. There you go. I'm going to give him a follow. Oh, wow. Give him a follow. Moving up in the world, George. George. Big day for George. He needs more followers. So he's got fewer followers than Milliken.
So, again, it's Alex Barth and George Balekji in for Joe Murray tonight. This is George's Sports Hub debut, co-hosting. But you have been mentioned by the station before. That was that 2022, August 2022.
That was middle of the Matt Patricia, Joe Judge experiment. Remember that?
I believe, if I remember correctly, the context of that was you had kind of grilled Bill. There's training camp that day. And you had kind of grilled Bill on it in the morning. And Zolak and Bertrand were like, who is this guy that's giving it to Bill? And it ended up being you. And so that's how you got on the radar. But you're here now. So for everybody who is tuning in for the first time, who's this guy? I work here, and there'll be times that I hear people on, and it's the first time I'm like, who's that? What's going on? So just to give a little background on you. You are from?
New Jersey, the greatest state in the world, baby.
Okay.
And that's fine. You could have an opposite opinion. Everyone thinks it's an armpit.
And you went to college at Seton Hall.
Seton Hall University.
I apologize. We did get a Seton Hall basketball call earlier. It was in the first segment. I'm the college football guy. I'll talk about the niche stuff. First segment on NBA and NHL free agency day felt a little much, but we can maybe do some Seton Hall basketball later on.
I will spare the listeners. I don't want to talk about Seton Hall basketball. We have a long way to go. Long time I'll ever say we, because I'm still paying money to that school.
That's fair.
We have a long way to go.
Very
I will
fair.
Spare the beautiful listeners of 98.5 talking any Hall ball.
You'll hear we get into the college stuff a little bit around Cortica. You'll hear me and the rest of the Ithaca crew peek up. But so you went to Seton Hall. When did you start knowing I want to do sports broadcasting, sports media?
High school. So I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. I took my TV broadcasting class we had there. We had an awesome studio, and to this day I credit my high school TV teacher Jonathan Randall. One day I'm a junior. He randomly comes up to me. Hey, color guy for baseball. Can't make it. You want to call the game? I was like, yeah. Hell yeah, I'll do it. So it was me, and he was a year above me. Bacon was his last name. We called him Bako. He was on play-by-play. I was on color. We were playing DePaul Catholic. I went to Wayne Valley, rival high school. And bottom seventh, Nick Hoy, I'll never forget any of this, walk-off single, cursing off the whole DePaul Catholic team. I erupt as a color guy, step all over the call. And I go, this is fun. So I started calling games, and I go, what school has a good program? Obviously, I know of Syracuse, but that was a lot of money and a long way from home. And you go there, you're like one of 75. That's what led me to Seton Hall. I was like one of 20 in a really good radio broadcasting, student-run radio station. Traveled full-time with the men's and women's basketball teams, calling Big East games. I was one of 20, but really, you go there, you're one of 5 or 3 who actually want it. And that led me to a lot of internships in New York City in the area, one in L.A., with Fox Sports 1, which is awesome, one with HBO Real Sports. I felt like I went to the Harvard of storytelling, being with the crew, HBO Real Sports, which is now gone, unfortunately. But that led me to Seton Hall. I did 2 years, 8 months in Joplin, Missouri. Who's counting? I did 2 years in Madison, Wisconsin, covered Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
His final season. Covered Cole Caulfield, his Hobie Baker season. And covered COVID, too. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love draft. So when COVID hit, got here August 2021. Red Sox make the ALCS run. 2022 NBA Finals. Covered a championship. And in the weirdest thing ever, covered Bill Belichick falling all over himself and running that team into the ground.
Yeah, it's funny. I always say, because I started covering the Patriots in 2017. And I grew up here, so I lived all of it. But I always like to say, I feel so lucky that I got 2017, I didn't cover the team in person. 2018 was my first year in person. So, I got one just in under the wire there with Belichick and Brady. Coming here for that, has to be, and just all of it. I mean, you got a Celtics title, but it's been a different era in Boston sports really since COVID.
Yeah.
Since you got here that you've been covering. And what was your, so Boston aside, I think I know the way you've talked about Joplin, Missouri, but, whether it be Seton Hall, Missouri, Green Bay, like what was your favorite market?
Honestly, it is Boston, but Joplin was where I grew the most.
So what did you cut? Where is Joplin in Missouri? I'm a little familiar with Missouri.
Do you know where Springfield, Missouri is?
Yeah.
Okay, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Obviously, you know where Fayetteville it is. Go an hour north, southwest corner of Missouri.
So what was like the big team you covered? Razorbacks?
I covered my first year, I did a coach's show. I covered Missouri Southern.
Okay.
D2 school, produced Brandon Williams, defensive tackle for the Ravens. I traveled like 6 hours one way to shoot D2 games for my coach's show. They went 0-11.
Jeez. That's
Denver
tough.
Johnson was really good with his time. It was tough. It's a really tough university to coach at. So I covered Missouri Southern. I covered Pitt State men's and women's basketball. It was a lot of fun covering the women's basketball team. So what's unique about Joplin, you're on the southwest Missouri corner. 20 minutes, you're in southeast Kansas, Pittsburgh State. John Brown, wide receiver in the NFL, produced him. And then about 30 minutes, also, you could be in northeast Oklahoma. Covered some guys out of there, too. And then you're also not far from Arkansas. But I grew a lot there, and you're forced to. That was fun. Madison was great, but then COVID hit. Awesome city. Have you ever been?
I want to go. My friends do a Big Ten tour every year. I need to go to one of these Big Ten cities.
Go mid-August, mid-October the latest. It has snowed literally 3 inches on Halloween winter jacket.
See, snow doesn't bother me. I just want to go to a game. I just want to go jump around.
If you want to enjoy the city of Madison, which is an awesome city, go in the summertime. Go the first 4 or 6 weeks of the football season.
All right, rapid fire here. We'll see where you stand on some Sports Hub sports topics. Analytics, just as a whole, analytics in sports. How do you feel?
I'm into to an extent. If that drives every decision you make, you're lost, man. You are lost. Like, you don't listen to music to watch the musical notes and how it's made. No. You listen to music because it gives you a feeling, I'm wearing my Grateful Dead shirt. I went to a Dead & Co show at Fenway. Life-changing. And I knew nothing about the band. I didn't know a single song, and it was life-changing. And trust me, I wasn't doing that many or really that much at all on the side. But it's like if everything drives on analytics, it can help you make a decision. It can help you paint a picture. It helps with efficiency, definitely, especially like scouting college football, let's say, and like the big rosters. But if it drives everything, you're lost in the sauce. So you watch sports because you watch a guy make a play and you go, that's an athlete. Jason Tatum, the way he moves, it's like jazz. Jaylen Brown is a heavy beat of hip hop that'll just slam in your face. And there's so many other guys in between there.
Do you believe, I'm trying to remember the term Felger and Maz used for it, golden scaz, what is it? It's not golden goose. What am I thinking?
No sacred cows?
No sacred cows. No sacred cows in sports?
What's no sacred cows?
Are any players above criticism?
No. Everyone is allowed to be criticized. And it comes with it. You don't cross a line, but if a player's not playing well, if they're just being selfish and not putting the team first, no one's above criticism. No players, no coaches, no owners. And I think that was an interesting dynamic with Bill Belichick, especially his last few years as a GM, where he felt like he was above criticism. Like it was polarizing. Fans were either pro Bill or against. And man, what he did to decimate that franchise. And again, I go to the owners with like what Jonathan Kraft did of baking in Gerard Mayo being the successor into his contract. That screwed Gerard Mayo over, and how a lot of that was handled too.
So within that, it's funny you mentioned the Belichick thing. I'll just add, as somebody who got here later, Bill the coach versus Bill the GM. Do you believe that was a real discussion?
Yeah.
Worth having?
Oh, yeah. And it was Bill, GM, and coach, and then the game passed him by, and he was...
Passed both by or just
the GM?
That's kind of where I stand.
The coach was still there on the defensive side. His decision-making, building his staff, though, like when you put Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as your offensive coordinators, come on, man.
So I will argue the Matt Patricia decision was the worst decision Bill ever made. I think it was worse than Malcolm Butler. I honestly think there's an argument to be made it was worse than letting Brady go, because he lets Brady go and still makes the playoffs 2 years later. And then Matt Patricia comes along and ruins all the momentum they have on offense.
That defense is top 5 still.
But
and then even when he brings in Bill O'Brien, the only guy he lets him hire is an assistant tight ends coach.
But there were still, so I count like the coaching staff building almost as like a GM thing. Like it's almost not GM Bill versus coach Bill. It's offseason Bill versus like in-season game day bill, because there were still some game plans there, even going in the last year he was here, that were great.
Yeah.
But the offseason stuff wasn't there. All right, we don't need to do a whole Belichick thing. But that's George Balekji. Again, he normally on Nesson, but he's going to be doing some fill-in stuff for us, so I figured we'd give him a little intro. We'll get some more opinions for you next. How about this, guys? You got a little in or out for us coming up? Yeah?
Oh, yeah, we're ready to go.
All right, let's do a little in or out right after this here on the Sports Hub.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Are you in or out? Gotta know without a doubt. I'm the one you need for a dirty deed. I'm the best. Success is guaranteed.
All right. No joke. We're going to get a little in or out in here. Alex, Barth, George Balekji. Skaz is here. You're just over 2 hours from vacation, Skaz.
We're getting there.
So you're getting there. I think we have so since this is the last time you're on until the 4th, I think we have a 4th of July themed in or out. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll mix in some 4th. But yeah, Tuesday night edition of In or Out. George's first In or Out. July. Welcome to July, guys. It's
That felt weird. Waking up this morning going, it's July 1st.
Very quick.
Happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yes, happy Bobby Bonilla Day. Maybe we'll touch on that later.
We will.
But we'll start with, I believe this to be a layup. But if I know Alex Barth, as I think I do, EA Sports with an announcement earlier this week. They are bringing back their college basketball video game. Gentlemen, are we in or out on the return of a college basketball video game?
The only thing I'm out on is it's not supposed to come out till I think 2028.
I think I saw like 27 or something like that.
Don't make me wait, but they've done a great job with the football game. The only thing is, so like part of the fun with the football game, you do the career and you go from college to the pros. EA doesn't make NBA Live anymore. So is 2K also going to make a college basketball game? Is NBA Live going to come back? I'm in. But there's some details they got to figure out.
I'm in all the way because that's the only time I'll ever witness Seton Hall in my lifetime win a national championship. Shout out to my guy on the YouTube chat, too, Brandon Torr. Finally, some NJ love from a fellow Pirate. Shoe class of 03 represent. Brandon, I love you, man. Shout out. Go Pirates. Hazard, Zet, forward.
There we go. Yeah, I figured that was an easy in to start us off. We'll stay with college. We'll head to college football for this one, though. Everyone's favorite college football guy, Paul Feinbaum, a friend of the morning show on this station. Yes. He had a take today, and I figured who better to ask than you, Barth and George. He says that Arch Manning will be the best college quarterback since Tim Tebow. Are we in or out?
Could not be more out. Out. He wasn't even the best quarterback on his team the last few years. And you know who told you that? Texas. Do you remember 2 years ago when they were making a push for a playoff spot and Quinn Ewers, who was still good at the time, got hurt? Who did they go to? Not Arch Manning. They went to Malik Murphy. And I don't want to hear anything about saving years and redshirt or this and that. Murphy was a freshman too, and it's Texas football contending for a national championship. They're going to do what they need to do to win. They just came out with the ratings for the college football game. I think Arch is like the 10th best quarterback, something like that. Like, he's good. He's a solid player. We haven't really seen that much yet. I'm an Arch Manning truther. He's not some generational prospect. He's not bad. We need to not put him with Tebow and Trevor Lawrence, even Johnny Manziel. I wouldn't even put him in that class yet. Maybe he gets there. Maybe. I am hardly sold on Arch Manning.
I am so out on that. But Paul Feinbaum knows what he's doing. He's adapting with the times. He knows the hot takes is what they want over there with Mickey Mouse. But to say he is going to be the best college quarterback since Tim Tebow, a guy that was a part of 2 national championship winning teams, was a contributor as a freshman, won the Heisman as a sophomore, should have won the Heisman again as a junior, and dominated the college game, I'm out. No, you do not make that comp for a kid that has played 2 games at most.
EA as Arch is QB. He's tied for 8th with DJ LeGuay of Florida, who I actually really like, and Blake Horvath from Navy, who is a tank. That's probably about right. He's like a fringe top 10 quarterback in college football.
They have him tied with a Navy quarterback.
But he Blake Horvath rules.
I got him going.
Blake, let's not. But he's like a fringe top 10 quarterback, and he's on Texas, and his last name is Manning. He's following in the family tradition of the last name being the story.
Yeah, he's not Cam Newton, who made one of the better.
That's right.
College.
Cam Newton is since Cam.
Unbelievable.
Is since Tebow.
Yeah.
No, he's obviously not. And I didn't say Joe Burrow either. Like, I'm sorry. No.
I'm with you. All right, well, it is 4th of July week. Gentlemen, are we in or out on fireworks shows?
In all the way.
I'm in.
I will never get over those So what I'm excited about that I'm going to be living in Wakefield, I live a quick walk from Lake Quannapowitt.
Oh, yeah?
And people are already setting up their chairs this morning.
Really?
With caution tape. You reserve your spot. Getting dinner at my friends that live right around the corner, coincidentally. And we're going to take that nice walk. I'll have a little iced drink with me around 9 p.m. Get a spot, lean back, watch the fireworks. I love fireworks.
So I go out to Nantasket, and people, there's no like official town fireworks. You just go on the beach, and it's up and down the beach.
Oh, yeah.
People shooting off fireworks, and you're right there. It's a really cool vibe. It gets a little smoky sometimes.
Have you ever set off fireworks like yourself, like light it?
Yes.
One of the best things of me living in Missouri, legal. First time I ever lit a firework was in Missouri with my friend from Arkansas. Most exhilarating 20 minutes of my life.
Oh, yeah, going down to Florida, see family, and
light it, run.
Oh, it's a good time.
All right, gentlemen, with the 4th of July on the way, it is cookout season.
Yeah.
Are we in or out on potato salad?
I'm out.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I'm out. I'm more of a coleslaw guy.
Exactly. Give me an extra side of coleslaw, some mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
An extra hot dog, anything. I don't care for potato
Mac and cheese is an interesting one on the 4th of July because like it fits in terms of the category, but it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy and it's hot. And like my mom makes really good mac and cheese, and I'll have it on the 4th of July. Don't get me wrong, but it's interesting how it's kind of wiggled its way into that holiday.
I make the plate count. Every part of the plate has to count. I'm not going to waste any of it on potato salad.
Yeah, no big contracts on that play. We're shedding salary. We're going strictly after
Luke Boston Celtics play.
Yes.
Luca Garza barbecue dishes.
He's not making it on the plate.
I apologize, Luke. I'm sorry, man.
With the 4th on Friday this year, I think a lot of people are going to be sneaking out, trying to play 18, maybe before some fireworks shows. Are we in or out on golfing on holidays?
So I like to golf on the 3rd.
I'm with you there.
That's
too crazy.
Yeah, I the 4th, I want to like do the 4th, and I want to go to the beach. I love watching the hot dog eating contest. I'm that guy. I'm making everybody wait to go down to the beach until, I'm like, go do what you want.
I was gonna say I would kill you. I'd be like, I'm going.
I'm not going down until I want. And Joey Chestnut's back this year.
He's back.
The king returns. But I love golfing on the 3rd. I've done that the last few years. Yeah, I'm out. I would golf on New Year's if I could. That's the one holiday I would love to golf on.
That sounds like that'd be a good time.
Yeah.
I'm out on the 4th of July. I'm also rare. I'm out on golfing. I can hit it straight. I cannot mentally commit 4 hours of my day far ahead enough to commit a tee time like a month out. If you hit me up and I have like on a Saturday, hey, I got an extra spot, or like 2 days out, I could do that, I think.
I don't know anybody who books tee times a month out, unless it's like you're going with like a group.
How far out do you book? I have an issue with commitment.
The most I might do is like 3 or 4 days. If I know it's going to be nice out, I know it's going to be tough to get a tee time.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go 3 or 4 days. Never really more than a week, though.
I just can't commit the time on a Saturday to golf. But then if you hit me up, hey, we're playing pickleball, I'll play pickleball for like 6 hours nonstop, no problem.
Oh, see, I love
pickleball.
And I'm not even good at golf. I just want to be out there.
No,
just
I get
relaxing. I can't run around that much. I'm not in shape.
I'm too washed for that these days. It wouldn't be a Joe Murray show in or out if there wasn't some food involved.
So you're saying potato salad isn't food?
The word salad is in there. I can't do that to Joe Murray. That doesn't count.
He's big anti-lettuce, right?
Anti-lettuce, for sure.
But he's in on the cafe.
Big in on the cafe.
Big in on the cafe. If you missed it on the morning show, go check that out. It's
yes.
on YouTube channel.
Getting breakfast for the boys. But McDonald's. Everybody knows McDonald's. They are starting to introduce curly fries in some of their international locations and have brought them to some locations in the States. Gentlemen, are we in or out on McDonald's curly fries?
Out. McDonald's fries are so good. Just leave them. Don't touch them. Leave them. They're great. Out.
I'm in. I trust McDonald's will execute it well. Well, I need A or B. If it's all curly fries, like, no. Arby's has that market squared in a way. No one does curly fries like Arby's in the fast food world. But if you give me A or B, I'll try them. But just don't get rid of your fastball.
Does McDonald's have onion rings?
Oh,
I'd rather see them dip their toe into that if they're going to go like alternate, whatever that category is.
Does Arby's have
like
onion
Burger
rings?
King had onion
Burger
rings.
King does. Is it Wendy's? I think Wendy's has good ones. Sonic has really good onion rings.
Real quick, your guys' favorite fast food spot?
Favorite fast food spot?
What's your go-to?
I don't eat a ton of fast food. It's Popeyes count?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would say Popeyes or Chick-fil-A are probably one or two.
So my it's apparently a hot take. I'm team Popeyes over Chick-fil-A.
I believe Joe Murray feels that way as well.
It's crispier, and they have mashed potatoes as a side, which rules.
Their sandwiches are better than Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I don't feel as bad after I have Chick-fil-A, but if I'm having fast food, like I know what I'm signing up for, my favorite spot, Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell. The smell of it, the taste, obviously, good chalupa. I love Taco Bell.
All right, gentlemen, that is going to wrap up a Tuesday night edition of In or Out.
There we go. One. Good stuff. We're going to get a quick check of the headlines here. 90 seconds, no commercials. We really haven't gotten to the Bruins, who had themselves, they did some things today. We'll get into the Bruins. Conor Ryan will join us at 9:20 as well. 90 seconds, no commercials, just the headlines here on the Sports Hub.
From the Tell Your Time Studios, WBZ FM and HD1. It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Essential Sports Hub headline, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
NHL free agency started today. The Bruins making multiple signings, highlighted by the addition of Tanner Jeannot to a 5-year deal worth $3.4 million per. Team also signed Sean Corrali, former Bruin, and traded for Victor Arvidsson. Meanwhile, the Celtics have been in free agency mode since last night. They've made 2 additions, adding center Luka Garza and wing Josh Minot. Elsewhere in the NBA, the Thunder have signed SGA to a 4-year, $285 million contract extension. In the East, the Milwaukee Bucks have been busy. They signed center Miles Turner and waived guard Damian Lillard, who, according to reports, is getting some interest from the Golden State Warriors. The Red Sox in action tonight, taking on the Reds. Well, they were in action. They've been in a rain delay for, like the last hour. They do lead 2-1 in the top of the 4th if and when that game resumes, but it looks like the tarp is still on the field out at Fenway Park. And in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins have acquired tight end Darren Waller in a trade with the New York Giants. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, keeping drains flowing for homes and businesses in the greater Boston area since 1976. Go to johnsewer.com. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 98.5sportshub.com.
Obviously had that first year where he looked like he was going to be the premier power forward, but the scoring hasn't followed him. Can he get that back? How do you view him as a player?
Yeah, obviously he popped, a few years ago. He's had some injuries since then that have, probably derailed a little bit in that regard. I don't know if he's getting back to scoring 27 goals. I sure hope so. Deep down, we believe he'll bring a lot more energy to our group that we need. The physicality is there. We run through a tough division. I just think everybody gets a little taller. I think if we fast forward, what we've tried to do from a draft perspective, an eye towards that as well, and introducing those young players that we hope they're infusing skill. I do believe that the complement that Tanner brings will help in that regard as we move forward in improving our organizational depth and talent.
Don Sweeney speaking after the Bruins' first day of free agency. And speaking on their big acquisition, Tanner Jeannot talking about his 24-goal, 41-point season with the Nashville Predators. That was back in 2021-2022. Hasn't had more than 18 points in a season since. Dealt with some injuries in there. But it hasn't had more than 18 points in a season since. Also kind of sounded like maybe the big moves are behind them based on the way he talked. I don't know. It was an interesting day for the Bruins, who it felt like had momentum coming out of the draft. Their draft was pretty, widely celebrated. It looked like they were going more towards skill and speed,
which they need,
which they have needed.
Playmaking, speed, good in the neutral zone, smart with the puck.
And they come out today and they add a bunch of enforcers and power forwards. And Jeannot was kind of the big signing. Arvidsson, who they acquired from Edmonton, is sort of a similar player. Sweeney talked about, you want, and you heard it in that clip, everybody gets a little taller when they're on the ice. gives you some protection for the young guys. When are we going to see these young guys? Fabian Lysell be up this year? What's the timeline on James Higgins? It almost kind of feels Red Sox-ish, where it's like, we're going to make this all about the kids, and we're not going to necessarily make veteran additions because we're going to slot the kids into that role, and we don't want to make those short-term investments. Do you feel better? And I don't know, Skaz, if we have Ty's meltdown. Do you feel better, worse, or the same about the Bruins than you did going into free agency today?
They do bring in Victor Arvidsson at 32 years old, is big, is heavy. They do have to get better in the forecheck, and honestly on both ends of the ice. And they have to help out their goaltending. Now, I'm not excusing Jeremy Swayman after the contract he signed by any means. But we see, and that's what I point to, is what Florida Panthers have put together, where Bobrovsky is making $11.5 million a year, and they went to 3 straight Cup finals. Now, Alex Lyons was the goaltender first run, then Bobrovsky, and they win back-to-back Stanley Cups. But they understood how to play with 6 goalies on the ice. It wasn't one, it was 5 in front. But yes, with this, what got to me was the Boston Bruins, same thing with every other team. They don't want to call it a rebuild, and that's fine. If you don't want to call it that, then follow that up. Nikolai Ehlers is out there. You need a right wing. You need depth scoring. You need a shot. You need help in the power play. He's young. He's good. He's entering his prime, and you have the cap space.
But
now, they could still maneuver stuff. They don't anymore. So they could still maneuver stuff.
So you're saying going into today, this was your mindset?
Ehlers, yes. I said this on my show this morning. Boston has entered the chat. We're on every morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Check it out. And I said it. Ehlers is there. Free agency hasn't started. You have the cap space. Go get a dominant right wing like that to give you a good top 6, to allow you to play next to Pavel Zacha or Elias Lindholm, whoever's your 2C. And they don't do it. And now they don't have the cap space. Can you make more moves? But don't say that, no. It's not a long-term rebuild. Don't even call it a rebuild. We're going right back to the playoffs. And with the cap space and pivotal free agency, you don't go out and get the top dog.
Or, to put it another way, as my colleague Ty Anderson did earlier today.
There, Elliot Friedman. Boston has reached agreement with Tanner Jeannot on a 5-year deal worth $3.4 million per. Ty Anderson just collapsing.
Why trade Trent Frederick? It's the same player. It's the same player. You know nothing about this guy, though. God, this is so annoying. Just when you think they're turning the page away from big and tough and all that and getting more skilled, which is what they need, what's Tanner Jeannot going to do? Is he going to punch the puck in the net? That's what you need. You don't need this player anymore. It's so annoying. It's fine money. Whatever. It's not that. It's 5 years for a guy that you don't really need. I hate this offseason. I hate it. If you're telling me you're going to give a 5-year deal to a guy who's 28 years old, he better have scored 25 goals and 50 points a year ago, not 7 goals and 13 points. What? That's crazy to me. He'll fight, though, so that's good. You'll lose the game 5-2, but he'll fight, so that's good. That's what you care. That's what the team cares about now. That's what you should care about. Second highest ticket price in the league. Hey, how's the game? Oh, well, they got their ass beat again, but they had a fight. Oh, cool. That was worth $95. YouTube doesn't exist anymore. You can't just go on your computer and find a fight and watch a fight. You can't pull up UFC any day of the week, watch a fight. The commitment to guys that play the Bruins way is why this team is never going to get to where they should go. It's going to be a problem for them every year.
I actually hadn't heard that whole thing. I didn't hear the last half of that earlier, right? More from Ty and Matt Dolph on 98.5thesportshub.com. The word there to me is annoying. Because, I like the way Jeannot plays. I like the way Arvidsson plays. I like watching that kind of hockey. But you don't need to build the whole team out of it.
And they kind of did that last offseason.
They've done that the last 10 offseasons.
Exactly.
Give me a guy that can put the puck in the net. I want my hockey team to crack heads. I do. I want the bottom 2 lines to do that. That bottom 2 lines shouldn't consist of half the roster. They need a guy that can score. They need a guy that can put the puck in the net. They were, 29th in offense last year?
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate the moves individually. On their own, they're fine. They're not amazing, but they're not bad. But multiple such moves, and then they're the only moves, Ty used the word, annoying.
When we play the Don Sweeney bite where he goes, everyone stands a little taller, I'm like, hey, I take that as in, there's someone that'll lay the wood, fight, give everyone more confidence, puff your chest out, play hard. And what did you say? It was before the show. You go,
they have these guys.
Yeah, I was like Nikita Zadorov. And then you go,
I don't even remember who I said. Who was it?
You named.
It was a center.
Yeah.
Who did I say? This is embarrassing.
I know, right?
When hosts don't listen to themselves.
Right.
It's rare when hosts don't listen to themselves. Who did I say?
Well, I go Zadorov, and you go with the Jeannot. There's also Johnny Beecher, who's under
Mark
shorter
Kasterlik.
Term.
That's
that
what
was
I said.
it.
Mark
Kasterlik you go with. And that's where it gets to. Now, you need, again, and it's, can you put out a hockey team in your image, or are they trying to, I guess as Ty puts it, hold on to that team in the past? Because, again, when a deal like this happens, too, you trade Trent Frederick at the deadline.
Yeah.
You have a new head coach in now. There are moves that I go with, they know more than me. Marco Sturm is having conversations with the front office, you assume, and he identifies Tanner Jeannot and goes, let's get
Who was
this guy.
in L.A. where Sturm was in the organization.
And that's where you think there's a familiarity, there's that overlap, go get him. But there is a part, too, of there has to be a team that can win multiple ways. And that's part of what makes a team
Great
a
way to put
contender. And if you have every line the same way, you don't have complementary pieces across, you win one way. And when you're outmatched by speed, when you're outmatched by scoring or skill, and you simply can't catch up, that's where you're going to put yourself. There's so much left to go. Again, though, who is the guy? And they have dudes, McAvoy, Lindholm, Pasta, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in Pavel Zacha and Elias Lindholm, too. I'm intrigued to see Elias Lindholm with a healthy back. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. But you have to be able to win multiple ways. What did the Panthers do after they lifted their second straight cup? What did Paul Maurice identify? Beating the Maple Leafs. They knew that was their hardest playoff series. They won multiple ways with multiple types of players, but all with the same mindset. You got to be multiple if you want to win.
27th in offense last year, 26th in defense, and they're focused on adding toughness. That seems to be the MO down there. Let's get more on this from Conor Ryan from Boston.com. We'll talk to him next here. It's Alex Barth and George Balekji on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
a pretty good job of getting the pulse of how Bruins fans are feeling. And I would say probably his reaction earlier today in terms of maybe the evident frustration is what I think is going to resonate with Bruins fans, where you look at this team, what they've done so far this offseason, the progress in terms of bringing in young talent through the draft. You feel like the prospect pool is getting a little bit deeper here. But when you look at the moves they made in free agency, kind of feels like they're back at where they were last year, which is a team that is emphasizing size, physicality, and all that stuff. But are they really moving the needle in terms of being a more competitive team in terms of wins and losses? I'm not so sure about that right now.
Conor Ryan joining us, of course, at Boston Globe, Boston.com. Conor, you kind of hit the nail on the head there where it feels like it's redundant going back to last offseason. Do you think this is a team that, what I was looking forward to is a new head coach comes in, you talk about the systems he can implement, he says what he wants to put on the ice, and what I like too with them hitting reset at the trade deadline, it felt like they were going with more skill, more speed, getting a lot younger. Do you feel like this is a team that is picking a path to go down, or does it seem like you're kind of stuck between two different directions to go in on how to build this roster?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, right? Where I think you look at maybe to the future and the moves they've made in terms of, obviously you benefit tremendously from having James Higgins fall to you, and that's the guy you take in terms of a elite skilled player down the road. But even the other draft decisions they made in terms of taking guys maybe with more upside, maybe a little bit more risk, but guys that if they hit at the NHL level can be real difference maker type of players. And you feel like maybe, as you said, like you move all these guys off the roster, you clear the space. You know, it's not to say that the Bruins were going to have the opportunity to sign, you know, a guy like Brock Besser or Nikolai Ehlers, and it was a pretty barren free agency class, but it almost feels like if that's the opportunity there where you're not able to bring in these kinds of game-changing offensive players, then maybe you sit back, you carve out spots for younger players to step into the lineup this year that maybe have that higher offensive ceiling, because it does feel like you're kind of in the same exact spot you were this past year where you have a lot of bottom six players. You almost have like 2 or 3 fourth lines right now. And listen, it's not to say that all of these players aren't going to move the needle. Like I like in a vacuum, a player like Eyssimont, who's a pain to play against. Sean Corrali brings some value, but the collective ceiling, I think, of your group, especially offensively, can only really go so high. And Don Sweeney mentions that this is a team that wasn't a tough out this past year, but I don't know, like, you look at the way this team is built, are they going to be a tough out if they can't score? Like, yeah, you can maybe land a few more punches. You can maybe Sam Bennett's leaving the ice with an ice pack or something like that. But is it change your fortunes when the Panthers still are skating away with a 3-1 win? I don't really know how that really changes things, all things considered.
Are you surprised that they took this approach, you know, coming after that off of that offseason where there were maybe as many questions as there's been about the job securities in the front office and finishing 27th offensively, missing the playoffs for the first time in so long, to go back to kind of what has been the status quo? Are you surprised? And then in the draft, to attack skill and speed and quickness the way they did. Are you surprised they've kind of reverted here in free agency, or did you expect that was maybe just a short-term change?
No, I mean, I'm pretty surprised in terms of you look at the options out there. And again, it's not to say that they were able to, if Brock Besser was going to sign somewhere else instead of going back to Vancouver, and, you know, he's maybe not a guy that you want to give a sizable contract to, but he's a guy that can be a 30-goal scorer. If they were able to, you know, they bring in a guy like Victor Arvidsson, who had a rough year with Edmonton, but has 5 20-goal seasons. I think that's a risk worth taking in terms of addressing a clear need for this team, which is speed, skill, and scoring. So, you know, even if you weren't able to bring in one of those big fish like an Ehlers or Besser, there's plenty of guys that were out there that instead of giving $3.4 million to Tanner Jeannot, if you combine that salary with another one of these fourth line players you like, you know, a guy like Jack Roslovic, who's a big body, good skater, has scored 20 goals, Evgeny Dadonov. There's a lot of these guys that are they, you know, top 6 stalwarts? No, but they're guys that, you know, collectively, if you're not trying to do like a Moneyball Billy Bean situation here, let's say you're trying to get 40 goals in the aggregate, you can sign some of these cheaper veteran wingers that can kind of replicate that production, whereas now you got a team that has a lot more truculence, I guess, but what's their offensive ceiling? I don't think you're getting 40 combined goals out of Tanner Jeannot, Eyssimont, Corrali, all those types of players. So it's kind of confusing as to what they're looking to get out of that group when clearly I think offensive generation was the biggest thing holding this team back moving forward.
Do you think maybe that's a sign that we're underrating the odds that some of these younger players, and I know that James Hagan's the expectations he's going to start at BC, but a guy like Fabian Lysell might play a bigger role than we're expecting right now?
Yeah, that's the thing. Another thing, when you look at just the moves they're making, where Don Sweeney mentioned today that they're trying to emphasize internal competition and not making it easy for these guys to break the roster. Well, I feel like we've had this conversation every single September when you look at just the amount of personnel they have there. And if you're going into, let's say, a year where you're treading water, and I think the Bruins, at least prospect-wise, right, seem to be on the right track with guys like Hagans and Zellers, and down the road you might have some talent there. But let's say this year is one where you're kind of like the Celtics, right, where maybe you're kind of stuck in neutral and it's going to be kind of a bridge season. Wouldn't you rather go through that year and give guys like Lysell and Fraser Minton like an extended run to go through the ups and downs, the growing pains? But let's say you get to March and April and maybe you don't make the playoffs, but you know what you have in a guy like Fraser Minton who's ready to build off of a promising year in 26-27. You know what you're getting with James Hagans a year from now, where it feels like you've got a young core really growing. Is Fraser Minton going to have that opportunity, or Matt Poitras or Fabian Lysell going to have a chance to even earn a spot out of camp when I know Marco Sturm mentioned that, they want to bring in these younger players and develop them, but if you're a first-year head coach and you're trying to get off to a quick start and you're trying to put the best team forward for right then and there to get going, you're probably looking more at the veteran guys. You're looking more at the Tanner Jeannots and the Crowleys because they're the safer option for right now. And I feel like just loading up your roster with those kinds of veteran guys, it's going to roadblock, I think, some of these younger players. Because you can say you're going to give them the opportunity, but once you get to the end of September and you're making those roster calls, I feel like they tend to go for more of those veteran players there. And I don't think that's what the team needs right now when you're trying to build towards the future.
Do you feel like this roster, Conor, is not just better than they were before free agency started, but a team as a roster, as they're filling it out on four lines, can be a team that not just gets to the playoffs, but as the Bruins have said, their goal is this offseason is get back to being in the postseason right away and being serious contenders?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at everything that went wrong this past year. I don't think it's a stretch to envision a situation where Jeremy Swayman bounces back, not saying that he's going to go from what he was this past year to winning the Vezina or anything, but I could see a situation where he bounces back is more to the form he was for the past 4 to 5 seasons when he's with this team. I could see the defense getting stronger under Marco Sturm, especially once you have Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm back out there. But still, I feel like you're going to be in the same spot where, all right, instead of being like a team that's getting a top 10 pick, are you then in like the worst spot, which is that middle ground mediocrity where you got a really good defense, but you're still losing games 2-1 because you can't score, right? You're almost then in an even tougher spot where, you have so many guys all across this lineup that can, be effective on the forecheck and throw some hits, can stand up for their teammates. But if they can't score, they can't finish, they can't generate those opportunities, where are you getting that from beyond just relying on David Pastrnak and now pretty much hoping that Morgan Geekie is not just a one-off? You're pretty much expecting this guy to be a 30-goal scorer because beyond those two guys, where are you getting your assured production from? There's not a lot of guys you can see right now that I think you can pencil in for 15 to 20 goals, let alone 30.
He is Conor Ryan. You can follow him on social media at ConorRyan_93. Check him out at Boston.com and the Boston Globe. Conor, thanks for joining us, and maybe there's some more to come for the Bruins. Maybe they get some more offense. Who knows?
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Conor with they could get back in the playoffs, which is probably what they're looking for more than anything else.
You want to get back to the postseason. Yes, but and I love what Conor led with of Ty Anderson always has a good grasp on the pulse of the fan. And it's Boston. I say it all the time, and it's true. There's Boston, there's New York, and there's Philly. And the expectations are different. And it's not get in the playoffs, it is contend and be a serious contender. And that's what it needs to be with the Bruins. They've had the amazing seasons. We go back a few years. They had a good playoff run. You go back to the last run, but they ran to the Panthers twice in a row. But it is, again, not just getting in the postseason, not just getting the home gates. It is contending and making that push. And maybe they're not done with this offseason, but what Conor hits really well, you have Pasta coming off a 43-goal season, Geekie coming off a 33-goal season. Great. That's awesome. You need more. You need depth. And now what we see in the NHL, you need a top 9, not a top 6. You need a top 9.
Yeah, they certainly have the bottom 9. I can tell you that. It's just a matter of getting that top 9. Again, who's going to put the puck in the net? And not punch it in, but maybe actually shoot it in with the stick and get it by the goalie. More coming up. We got to get a quick check of the headlines, so then we're right back to it. It's Alex Barth and George Balekji on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Bruins got underway today with their free agency. They made multiple signings, highlighted by the addition of forward Tanner Jeannot on a 5-year deal worth $3.4 million per year. Team also brought back Sean Corrali and traded for Victor Arvidsson from the Edmonton Oilers for a 5th-round pick. Meanwhile, the Celtics, they've been in free agency mode since last night. They've made 2 additions so far, center Luka Garza and wing Josh Minot. Elsewhere in the
Visit johnsewer.com.
Around here, we call them the Joe Murray pre-party. It's Felger and Maz afternoons right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Back here on the Sports Hub, Alex Barth, George Balekji with you for another 80 minutes. Taking you up to 11 o'clock tonight in for Joe. You want to call in 617-779-0985. We've talked a bunch of Celtics, bunch of Bruins. You want to weigh in on that? I do want to get in the Red Sox, though, George, as well. They're actually, the game's been suspended tonight, so if you're in your car driving home, again, 617-779-0985. They played 3 innings. I don't know if they got into the top of the fourth. The game was suspended in the top of the fourth. The Red Sox are up 2-1. Roman Anthony and Carlos Narvaez both have RBIs. Richard Fitz, 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run allowed, 1 strikeout. The news, and obviously with the game being postponed or suspended, whatever you want to call it, again, it'll be made up tomorrow at 2:30. The news with the Red Sox tomorrow is going to be, once again, Craig Breslow going on NESN, and we got some interesting stuff from him today. He chatted with your colleague, Tom Caron, before the game, and this was the one that stood out to me, this little back and forth here, Skaz.
You talked about buying before the deadline. Now that it's July, you start getting questions about the deadline, right? Most sites, and I know you have your own proprietary formulas, which are probably better than anything I have access to, but, most places have you 15, 20% chance of making the playoffs right now, today, the snapshot as we stand. Is that enough to invest in this team and go all in for this year? Do they have to show you something over the next couple of weeks to earn that? Sort of where does that decision-making process stand right now?
Well, I think all those tools, whether you're looking at ours, the things that are publicly available, they're telling us we need to win more games.
Okay, hang on. You needed the math to tell you needed to win more games to get in the playoffs? You needed the formulas for that one at 42 and 44? That you had to crunch the numbers on whether or not that pace was going to get you in. I know the third wild card is ridiculous, and it opens the playoffs up to way more teams than it should. I get that. You needed the math. You needed the calculator to tell you that. Keep going.
Ours, the things that are publicly available, they're telling us we need to win more games. And, fortunately, there's a lot of games left between now and the deadline. But we came into this season with a very aggressive mindset, and we believe that we were putting together a team that was capable of making the postseason. We still believe that's the case. And so, our heads right now are trying to figure out how we can improve this team and how we, add in places to bolster the roster so that we can make that deep playoff run that we had anticipated.
You know what kind of, and you know what? All right, so they're thinking about adding. You know what kind of player would be great if they had? Like a top 10 hitter in baseball?
Put him second in your lineup, slot him at the DH consistently.
DH him where, if he wants, let him DH. He doesn't need to play the field. Or if he wants to play the field, you can use a first baseman too. Oh my God, they will not get out of their own way with this. This is the same guy that, 3 weeks ago in that press conference said they expected to win more games after trading Rafael Devers. And let me be clear on this. Rafael Devers was in the wrong in this too, in that whole saga. And I know he's not playing well in San Francisco, but it's just so inconsistent over there. It's so inconsistent, and it makes me nervous about what they're going to do at the deadline. Now granted this was under Chaim Bloom, but it's still the same ownership. They've had weird deadlines the last few years. They had that one in, I think it was 22, where they both bought and sold, and it netted them Abreu, so I guess that was good, but at the time it was really weird. It killed the momentum in the clubhouse.
That was like one where they held on to JD Martinez and then he leaves in free agency.
Right.
Where that's like a bat. That's what you sell to buy in a way.
Right. So I feel like they could do anything. I have no idea what the plan is over there. I don't know what the long-term plan was always the kids, the big three. Campbell, Mayer, Anthony. And they're here now. Okay, so are we just sitting on our hands until they develop into stars and it's their team starting now? Or is it, all right, put pieces around them so that they kind of don't have as much weight on their shoulders as they're coming up? Is that Bregman? But is Bregman going to come back? If he's going to opt out, you probably have to trade him. Because I know the models are telling you got to win more games, so you might not make the playoffs. It's just every time they talk, it's frustrating. Because I don't know, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. It feels like there's a different trajectory in mind every time they speak.
It's every time Craig Breslow speaks. I understand what he was saying, and I'm not trying to make up for what he was saying there. But he's trying to make the joke of, and they tell me we need to win more games. Just say, I don't care what those models say. We have to win more games. I don't care about 15% chance. We could have 1%. We could have 100%. We have to win more. It's one of those where it is in a way he's going out, doing more interviews, doing more availabilities. He's aware it didn't go down well after the Devers trade. But he also said in that availability, he did say, we'll look back, win more games. He also said, we're not waving the white flag. Okay, but how long? Because it's going to be really hard to not wave the white flag. You have to make moves. Because my thing was, all right, you offload Devers, you trade him, get rid of the money. You have this cap space. Do you trade for guys you can pay? Do you extend the guys now? Right? They have the rookies under contract. And also to the avenue, what do you do with the kids? What I loved about the construction of this team with adding Alex Bregman, trading for Garrett Crochet, getting that extension out of the way. Aroldis Chapman, prove me wrong that signing. Like, what are you doing? Look how good he's been, right? All of that, and then some, was you get to the postseason. So Marcelo Meyer, Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, Wilyer Abreu hasn't played 2 full years of MLB baseball.
That's crazy.
Right? His time. Same thing with say they need playoff experience. You don't have Nate Eovaldi walking through that door. You have Alex Bregman here now. You need to prove to him you're serious, and you need to. It's for the short and the long term. That's what the Bregman signing was, no matter what. You get someone in that clubhouse talking, hitting with them, helping the pitchers get better as well, helping instill a culture and being a leader in a clubhouse that needed it. On the field, with the bat, and as a voice. You have that. You need to get to the postseason because that benefits long term. It's not just about getting a fan base off your back. It's about winning, building winning baseball, and being serious about it.
And I do think that there is a real chance that at the end of the season, we're looking back and we've won more games than we otherwise would have.
Well, then you got to make moves to do it. So this is, and look, I'm being tongue-in-cheek about the computer thing. Like, I get that.
But you're right, though.
It's the messaging's frustrating, and I'm famously anti-analytics. But, like, we sit here right now, and there's obviously games being played as we're speaking, so this is a little flexible. But the Red Sox are 3 games out of the final wild card spot. They're the 5th team in those standings. They're half a game behind the Angels. What's the number? Like, how do they determine... Okay, if the model says they have a 16% chance of making the playoffs, they'll buy. But if it says 15% chance, they'll sell. And that's on what? Because you can't just pick up the phone on July 31st and start making calls. You got to be going as you go. So it's 15% on July 20th, 17% on July 25th. This is another thing, a take I've always had about trade deadlines, George. Everybody acts like the deadline date is the deadline. Get out ahead of it.
Yeah.
This is something that they've actually done in the past that I've liked. If you're really on the margins like that, and the models are telling you you need to win more games, if there's players out there you think that can help you, go get them today. Go get them tomorrow. Because, one, probably going to be cheaper because you're setting the market. And 2, you're going to have them for more games. They're going to make you better for longer. So on that, if they get more aggressive early, I'd feel better. I'd also feel a lot better if they had a Bregman extension. I'm afraid they're going to lose Bregman for nothing. I like that signing. He's been a good player. He's going to be a great influence on the kids, like you said. I'd like more than 1 year of that. And I do think if they continue on this path and they're 3-7 in their last 10, you do need to talk about maybe trading him at the deadline. Because if you can get something like truly valuable for him.
100%.
And if he leaves for nothing, that's a massive missed opportunity. I'd rather extend him.
Same.
But if I'm them, I kind of want a resolution on that on July 31st. I don't know that I want to go into the offseason with that hanging over my head.
Their numbers, we were talking about in the chat, you, me, and our producer, Skaz.
Yeah.
Since they traded Devers, first game, June 16th.
Yep.
16th in RBI, 20th in drawing walks, 27th in strikeout rate. That means I'm saying they're 3rd highest in the MLB.
Right.
MLB.
Yeah.
24th in batting average, 23rd in on base, 17th in slugging, weighted runs created plus. Going a little analytical here, Barth.
Oh, no.
20th.
And I said you were going to have another show. I don't know now.
But that's a number you look at, and that's where I go with, we see with our eyes.
Yeah.
And then it's also the weighted runs created plus. I like it in a way it makes it easy. 100's average. If you're above that, 100, you're good. They're below average. But the highest they rank is 16th in any of the major batting categories.
And that's RBIs, which I'd love to see where they were in that category before last night.
Yeah, right. 28 between the Blue Jays game and the game against the Reds. Yeah. Exactly.
Like it's very streaky. When the pitcher's not going to tip his pitches every game or whatever was going on last night. That's not going to happen every game. I know they got a couple quick ones tonight, but it's just I'd like to see the kids are finally here, and it still feels like we maybe don't have that plan. It still feels like they don't necessarily have that plan. 617-779-0985. You want to weigh in on the Red Sox? I want to get into one other notable piece of baseball news, tradition, lore, whatever you want to call it for today. We'll do that next. It's Alex Barth, George Balekji on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
It's known in baseball as Bobby Bonia Day because every July 1st, the deferrals in your contract that you sign when your agent negotiated a deal, Dennis Gilbert with the Mets back in the day, back in the early 90s. This is more than 30 years ago. You get a payment from that deferral on July 1st. Correct. Tell me, what that day is like for you and who you hear from.
Well, I hear from a lot of people. It's probably bigger than my birthday. Everybody knows that day more than my birthday. Listen, we've been doing it for quite a long time now. I'm kind of used to it. It's a lot of fun to have it, but it was done so long ago. It's just
more than 30 years, and you got more than a decade to go.
Well, don't be mad at me because of that, Buster.
Oh no.
It is what it is. It is what it is. It's just a great day. I just have fun with it now. I mean, I'm glad I did put the money away. And it's just a beautiful thing.
It is July 1st. We are doing a sports talk radio show, especially at night. So we got to do the Bobby Bonia thing, which I enjoy. I like the Bobby Bonia.
It's a good laugh every time. It's a good for him.
Oh, absolutely. He's the winner here. It's Alex Barth, George Balekji on the Sports Hub, Skaz behind the glass, getting ready. 1 hour till vacation, Skaz. You feeling it?
Oh, can't wait. I'm going to do absolutely nothing.
What is the vacay? Is it just a staycay?
Yeah, I might go. My dad's up in Albany. He's actually right by Saratoga. So maybe I'll head up there for a little bit, maybe.
Have you ever been to Saratoga, Skaz?
Yeah, it's like my dad's backyard now that he's moved up there. He's like, Albany, Saratoga, so he's there all the time. But yeah, it's the best.
Fantastic city. It's one of those. I've gone to Saugerties in the Catskills, and you walk through the downtowns. You're like, hey, this is great. This downtown's beautiful, but it's not maintained. Saratoga, pristine everywhere. Obviously, a lot of money with the racetrack.
Right.
Good food, a lot of bars. It's a mini Nashville. Every corner you turn, there's another bar to go, and Skaz,
you can't throw. Is there live music? Like that's the whole thing with Nashville.
A lot of karaoke.
No.
It's
not Nashville.
It's a little Nashville with the amount of bars.
All right.
That's what I mean.
When I think Nashville, I think music. I don't want to go to a bar and hear me sing.
I don't want to go to a bar and hear live music for the most part.
You don't like live music at bars?
Not really.
Oh,
no.
That's a bad take, Skaz.
Ow.
Wow.
It's way too loud.
Nashville changed the way I look at bars.
Yeah, country music also stinks. So
it's not all country in Nashville.
I'm any type of music, but live music, it can be bad. It's fantastic.
Live music, a bar with live music instantly elevated for me.
Really level dependent for me. Sometimes it's too much. Like it's just way too loud, so I'm out on it. But if it's good, all in. But I would say I'm picky with my live music, I guess.
I haven't been to too many bars where there's bad live music. Look, you're not seeing rock and roll Hall of Famers. Although the cool thing about Nashville is you see a bunch of acts before they get big.
Yeah.
Or
you can see someone that's big and just loves music and they perform.
Well, no, I'm talking about like some really out of the way barbecue places.
Oh, yeah. It's in Memphis. You ever been to Memphis?
I haven't been to Memphis.
You would love it. Jazz bar. I walked into a bar. You could smoke cigs inside and it was live music. I don't smoke cigarettes. I was one with the
vibe.
Oh,
yeah.
1,000%.
Memphis and Austin are on my list. I've heard they're Nashville adjacent. Although Jim Murray told me Nashville's not as good as it used to be, and I haven't been in a few years. So that kind of bummed me out.
I think that's anywhere, though. You get a little older, it gets a little more packed, it gets younger. What's good about Saratoga, again, getting to the bar point of the Nashville, you go there, it's just a bunch of people wanting to get after it, not too sloppy. I went perfect timing right before the races started, so no lines at the bars. That place must be swamped. I want to go back for that. But to Skaz's point, it was my bachelor party.
Yeah.
Monday I took off of work. I had a vacation after the vacation. Needed to catch up on sleep. Still can't speak yet.
No, I was at somebody's bachelor party over the weekend too, and yesterday I was working from bed. We played a lot of golf. I was feeling it. I am not in shape.
We already did in or out, but you guys are talking bachelor parties, and I just realized this time last year I was on a bachelor party playing golf in Wisconsin. But are you guys in or out on like a holiday? Maybe not, obviously not Christmas or Thanksgiving, but so it was one of my best friends. He knows that I'm off on the 4th. His brother, who actually used to be an intern here, is a news anchor in Oklahoma City. So he was off on the 4th. So he actually kind of scheduled it around that. But how are you guys in or out on a bachelor party, like around a holiday?
So look, I'm very much like, especially if your friends get married. If he's happy, if it's what he wants, fine. I'm happy for my friend, but I already know I'm enjoying that weekend. I already know I'm going out, having fun that weekend. I'm out. Let's take some random weekend and make it feel like a holiday. But if that's like the way you get it done, and it's the only way everybody can be involved, like, I understand why it might have to happen. But I'm out. I wouldn't do it.
You got to make it count. If you're going to take my 4th of July, it has to be good.
Yeah, you need to do. That's the other thing. You need to do it up if you're going to do it on a holiday.
Yeah, I mean, we went to Wisconsin and played like beautiful golf courses.
Where in Wisconsin? Where?
We were like, they played, the good golfers played Erin Hills, but like we played, Erin Hills adjacent, a little cheaper. So we played, we were right in Milwaukee basically. So we drove like an hour and a half to a couple courses, but went to Summerfest. Felger was giving me the rundown
on
Milwaukee Summerfest before we went. Sure, it's a little different than when he went, but yeah, it was. I'd recommend Wisconsin. Sneaky good place.
I will say, I would be in on it for New Year's. I will do anything on New Year's because I hate New Year's. It's such a stupid holiday.
Sit around, people come over for dinner. Like New Year's Day or Eve?
Either one. I worked on New Year's Eve this year, and I was the last shift on the station in 2024, and it was like, I'll stick around for 2 hours. Like, it's such a blah holiday for me.
I'm big on New Year's Eve, quiet as possible. I want to be on my couch. Don't even have to be drinking. Maybe I'm up for the ball dropping.
So I used to feel, like when I was like younger, I used to feel the pressure for it.
You have to go out.
And then, I forget, it's like sophomore, junior year of college. I was home. I was supposed to go out with friends. The majority of people got sick like that night. So it was like 9 o'clock. I could go to a bar, but it was kind of late. Nobody else around. Everybody has plans. Stayed home, watched Arrested Development, fell asleep in the chair in front of the TV at like 11:30. Best New Year's I ever had.
Great show.
Wake up not feeling terrible. I'll say this.
Felt like a good New Year's show. It did.
It is.
Yeah.
It's mindless. You enjoy it.
Yeah.
No pressure. I'll say this too. I'm big on, I stay in Boston holiday weekends. No traffic. Get into any restaurant you want that are open. But I've noticed it Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July, I'm sticking around. It's the best time to be in Boston because everyone, rightfully so, Cape, Vineyard, Nantucket, Maine.
I was talking about like in the city in Boston,
I'm literally
not going back to Jersey.
No. In the
city.
I stay.
Interesting.
Now I'm outside of the city. I'm in the burbs. But like being in Charlestown, like, I ran into you. I mean, last year it was a holiday.
Out in Nantasket.
Yeah, we were walking by. I was like, Barth, what's up? But then that wasn't a holiday weekend. Separate one. I went to Nantasket.
Yeah.
Drive back though. I'm like, no traffic. It was beautiful.
That's why it's nice out in place. Stay.
I
over
love
there.
Nantasket too.
That's my 4th of July spot. I'm not leaving there on the 4th of July. The other one, I refuse to leave for Thanksgiving. Not Boston, like New England. Like I'll go around. Like I'll go out to the suburbs. But that's a home game for us. Thanksgiving's a home game for us, so I want to be here. All right, we were going to do Bobby Bonilla. 90 seconds, quick check of the headlines. We have some Boston Bobby Bonillas for you. That's going to be the point of this. Who are the local teams still paying? Because Bobby Bonilla is not the only person who's been Bobby Bonilla'd. Who locally has been Bobby Bonilla'd? 90 seconds, no commercials. We answer that question here on the Sports Hub.
From the Telstra Time Studios, WBZ FM HD1. It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
NHL free agency got underway today. The Bruins made multiple signings, highlighted by the addition of forward Tanner Jeannot on a 5-year deal worth $3.4 million per. They also brought back Sean Corrali in free agency and made a trade, adding Victor Arvidsson. Meanwhile, the Celtics have been in free agency mode since last night. They've made 2 additions in the last 26 hours-ish. They signed center Luka Garza last night, added wing Josh Minot this afternoon. Elsewhere in the NBA, the MVP is a new contract, SGA, a 4-year, $285 million extension. Milwaukee's been busy. Damian Lillard waived. Miles Turner signed. The Red Sox game tonight has been suspended. They got to the top of the 4th before the rain hit. It'll pick up tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. with the Sox leading 2-1. And in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins have made another trade after shipping out Jonnu Smith yesterday. They add Darren Waller today in a deal with the New York Giants. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, 24-hour on-call service for your clogged drain emergencies. go to johnseward.com. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 10:30.
Here we go. Boom. I win. Boom. Yeah. It's a buddy.
We've got a passion for Boston sports.
Get angry.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Final hour of the Joe Show. No Joe tonight. Alex Barth, George Balekji. I'm sorry to the people in the YouTube chat who are missing Joe, the one guy who thinks we sound like AI.
I just read that comment.
That was a little, I will say, it was a little bit of an AI-ish segment. Just the three guys in their early 30s talking about bachelor parties and what you're doing on New Year's. It was a little generic. I'm not saying it was a bad radio segment, but it was a little generic.
I don't think it's AI. You ask AI what a good bachelor party is. Like, AI spews out some dumb
I'm not
stuff.
a big AI guy.
Can't trust it.
All right, we'll do another generic sports radio segment. We're going to make it local. So Bobby Bonilla, if you don't know what Bobby Bonilla Day is, the Mets signed Bobby Bonilla to this big contract in the late 90s. It wasn't working out. The owner was making a bunch of money with Bernie Madoff, which we now know was fake. So they bought Bobby Bonilla out, owing him $6 million. But instead of just paying him the money they owed him, they deferred the payments for a decade with interest. So he gets like just over $1 million every year on July 1st. It's going to run through 2035. He turned the $6 million he was owed into almost 30. So today's the day Bobby Bonilla gets paid. But this happens with a lot of players. So people don't know this goes beyond Bobby Bonilla. The big one today, I thought this was neat. It's only a 5-year spread. But Damian Lillard gets waived by Milwaukee. He got Bobby Bonilla on Bobby Bonilla Day. Like, it sucks he got cut, but that's kind of cool. If you're going to get Bobby Bonilla, it might as well be on July 1st. And for whatever reason, a lot of these payments line up on July 1st. So, for instance, the Red Sox, you know who they paid today?
Found this out today. Had no idea.
Well, they paid a couple guys today. But the big one, Manny Ramirez.
$2 million.
They've been paying Manny Ramirez $2 million a year for basically since he left. I think it was like a 5-year deferment. And I think there's only one more, right? Next year will
this
be
is
his
the last year.
check.
Or the next year is, yeah.
Worth it.
You know, Bobby Bonilla also has been getting $500,000 from the Orioles from 2004. It ends in 2028. The same day.
He got figured out.
Good for him, man.
That slump he got in when he got cut was the best thing that ever happened to him.
My dream is to be Bobby Bonilla or Jimbo Fisher. Here's a lot of money.
Oh, well, the college ones are another story. Those are ridiculous.
I would die for that.
How about the Pistons head coach that got like the 60? Was it Monty Williams? He got like $65 million. They fired him like after the first season.
Yeah,
and he's just sitting at home.
I would pick up golf. I don't like golfing. I would golf. I would fish. As I always say, I would chase summer. Wherever the summer is around the world, that's where I'll be. And I would come back here every time in the summertime. And not split time, I would disappear. You would never hear from me again.
That's the ultimate setup. That's the ultimate setup.
I would talk NFL draft with you. You'd hear from me, Barth.
You come back for the draft a little bit. So Manny Ramirez, and totally worth it. Still having Manny on the payroll. Dustin Pedroia still on the payroll. $2.5 million. I don't know when his run through, but Dustin Pedroia getting paid by the Boston Red Sox. Still, he's on that deferment. Who else do we got? So this says dead money. I don't know if this means a payment. But still on the books for the Red Sox, Eric Hosmer.
Did not know this. Pedroia, by the way, runs through 2028.
2028. He gets a little more. So Manny gets a little over $2 million. Pedroia gets 2.5.
2.5 on the dot. Nice.
They bought out like a decent amount of that contract. That thing was supposed to run for a few years, even when he got hurt. So then I'm looking at other teams. So I don't know how this works with the money, but players who are still on the books for the Patriots, cap hit. Juju Smith-Schuster. Patriots have a $2.6 million cap hit against Juju Smith-Schuster still.
You could just be paying Jacoby Myers.
Is he on here?
No, but I'm saying...
No, because he left as a free agent.
Bill let Jacoby walk because Jacoby said, we don't know what the heck they're doing with the offensive coordinators and made him hate him, and then he brings in Juju.
And I think they either blew the medical with Juju or just figured, we'll get him for cheap because his knee's bad. Either way, it was a bad signing. Speaking of wide receivers, that didn't work out here. Tyquan Thornton, still on the books for the Patriots, $577,000. Now, these are all less than 1% of the salary cap. So it's not significant. It's just you look at where is the time gone. There were some guys when I looked during the season, they cleared a bunch at the end of the season. Because I remember looking back in like November, and there were a bunch of guys they had on here. Who else? The Celtics, again, I don't think this is owed money. They still have a cap hold on Blake Griffin. And it's like a not insignificant cap hold, according to Spotrac.
Good for him, once again. Blake Griffin, hell of a career. Loved by the Celtics, loved in Boston, still getting paid. It's just amazing, and some of it makes sense. I think the biggest Bobby Bonilla of them all, and go with respect, is Russell Wilson with all that dead money he got from the Broncos. They literally cut ties with him. Sean Payton
How
hated
long
him.
is he getting paid for? Because I think part of the Bobby Bonilla thing is like,
it's forever.
Still getting paid all these years later, right? So, like, all right. So you said you would chase Summer, which is a great take. Skaz, you're Bobby Bonilla. You get, well, actually, no, it's more than $1 million. It's $1.5 million because of the Orioles. You get $1.5 million every year on July 1st. How you living your life?
Yeah, I'm with George. You're never seeing me again. I'm going to, the Smoky Mountains, living on a golf course, something like that. Like just playing golf all the time, not worried about a thing. I'm not even like a big traveler too. I'd rather just like find a home base that I like and just kind of chill there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd maybe do like the occasional trip, but I'm with you. I'd go find get like a ranch or a farm somewhere you have a lot of space. Kind of just out there, got to be near a golf course, something like that. Maybe up in the mountains, maybe on an ocean, maybe on a lake. And I would just be there. I think I'd have like a big party every year on July 1st, though.
That's nice.
I would make.
Would we get an invite, Skaz and I?
Yeah, of course. I think I would make an event. Like, you'd have to make an event of it, right? Like, what do you think Bobby Bonilla does today?
Didn't the Mets throw him a party? Was it like when Steve Cohen came in and
they did actually they had
that.
Bobby Bonilla Day at Citi Field a couple years ago.
Embrace it.
Because
play the bit.
If I was him, I would walk out there with double birds.
Well, he should be like thanking them on, but it was old ownership was like
right.
They tried to gloss over it, and Steve Cohen was like, I'll pay everybody. Bring them in, it doesn't matter. But I think you guys mentioned like other ones. And I'm sure, Barth, you have these, but I was just looking some of these up. I just saw Ken Griffey Jr. was the highest paid Reds player, Cincinnati Reds player in 2003, in 2023, in 2024. He was the highest Reds player not named Joey Votto.
Oh, there's a couple other guys like that. Where
Cincinnati Reds, man.
Chris Davis, everybody remembers?
Yeah, Chris Davis
Orioles.
has been hasn't he been the Orioles' highest paid player for years?
So he got $59 million in deferred payments over 15 years, starting from 2021. So he gets $9.16 million 2024 and 2025, and then he gets $3.5 million per year from 26 to 32, and then $1.5 million from 33 to 37.
Wow.
Talk about that. That's the dream right there.
Getting paid and then being told to go away. That is 1,000% the dream. With this too,
you know what's crazy? I just realized Shohei Ohtani got Bobby Bonilla, and he as his contract.
That gets all that deferred money, and again, that's a guy that could be done with baseball. What I was if I'm in the Chris Davis, every July 1st, $3.5 million hits my bank account too. I'm evading stress. I'm not trying to invest in real estate. I'm not trying to make $3.5 million into 30. No. I am, to your point.
That is found money.
I am paying cash straight up for a house and location I like. Next year, that's when I'd get the lake house at my 2 spots, and then when I get the rest of the year stuff. That's when I'm traveling, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I am totally in. I am no stress. That's the dream.
I'm doing the big party on July 1st, though.
Which is good.
All right, maybe you do it on July 4th. Well, this goes back to the bachelor party thing, right?
A big 4th of July party done right, though. That's a thing.
Do a 4th of July week party. What is it? They actually signed, or no, they didn't finish signing it until the 6th, or they started signing it on the 2nd, finished on the 4th.
Is that what happened?
Something like that. The 4th of July, Skaz, do you know what I'm talking about? The 4th of July isn't the only day they were signing it.
Just what they chose.
Yeah, there's some semantics there.
4th of July sounds better than the 6th of July, though. Let's be real. It just rolls, the 4th of July. So that's the right move to go with.
Here, they passed it on July 2nd and then adopted it on July 4th. So we celebrate the end of the process, which probably makes sense. That it would be the way to do it, but just I would do payday to July 4th. I just have a big blowout every year. Especially if you're, what was it, $9.1 million for Chris Davis?
This year, or last year and this year, 9.16.
We're having a time. We're having a time with him, Chris Davis.
That's a dude, too, is like at one point, feared hitter, just a masher. And then was just, let me strike out every other.
Well, do you remember
every at bat?
It was 2019 that he started the year like historically bad. I think he was like over 33 with 30 strikeouts or something. And they were coming to Fenway, and it was not a good year for the Red Sox. And everybody knew that the streak was going to snap in Boston. And I think he hit a home run on like the second pitch. Do you remember that? Anybody else remember that, or am I making that up? I have a memory of that. I'll have to look it up during the break. 617-779-0985. You want to talk deferred contracts. George, you said off the top, me and you like to talk football. It is kind of the dead season, but there's been some moves. So let's talk a little football. Why not? Let's talk a little football, recent NFL moves, how they affect the Patriots. Plus your calls again, 617-779-0985 here on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
at the end of 2018. He was hitless in his last 21 at-bats of that season.
Got it.
Going into 2019, he set the record for the most consecutive at-bats by a position player without a hit. He had 46 at-bats in a row without a hit. From the end of 2018 into 2019, the Orioles came to Fenway Park. It was a marathon weekend. He pinch hit in the first game, went 0 for 1, and then started the next day, went 3 for 5 with 2 doubles and 4 RBIs. Which
wakes him back up.
Yeah, Fenway Park did it for him.
His pro baseball reference is just magical. 1 home run in 2010. He wasn't playing full seasons. 2011 hits 5. And then, boom, 33, 53, 26, 47, 38, 26, and then the drop-off in 2018.
I wonder what happened there. We were talking about off the other, like, we think Cal Raleigh's legit?
Yes.
Did you see that graphic that was going around of him the other day?
No, I missed that. I like that he trash-talked New Yankee Stadium in that short porch.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is.
So, I don't know, whatever network their games, I don't know if this was Root Sports in Seattle or if MLB Network put this up. Somebody had this. Most home runs before the start of July in a season. Here's the list. First off, Barry Bonds, 2001, 39. Sure. Mark McGwire, 37 in 1998. Tied for third, Ken Griffey Jr., 98. These all have 33. Ken Griffey Jr., 98. Sammy Sosa, 98. So you have the 98 chase in there. Mark, Sammy Griffey, and now Cal Raleigh. Bonds, McGwire, Sosa, Griffey, Cal Raleigh. I want to believe it's real.
Yeah.
George, I want to believe it's real because baseball was so much better. Like, they should bring back steroids. They should mandate it. I want 80 home runs in a year. I want 500-foot blasts. I want the 99 home run derby. But obviously, like, you don't want it to be tainted, especially in this era. I'm rooting for Cal Raleigh, man. This is awesome, and I hope he gets a 70. That would be so freaking cool.
Tough company to be with. You go Bonds, McGwire, and then when you get to Sosa, too, you're like, is it the bat? Is it the juice? Imagine Aaron Judge with his eyes, his timing, his everything, his IQ. Imagine him. That has to be 90 home runs.
Well, but it is and it isn't, because there's no difference between hitting the ball 300 feet and 500, or 350 feet and 500 feet, right?
Stamina.
I guess so, but yeah, I guess. You still have to be able to put the bat on the ball.
Which Bonds was doing before it and after, and that's obviously his greatest hitter.
This is why, like, all right, we were doing this before. Where do you stand on, like, just generic sports takes because it's your first time on? Bonds, Clemens, really Bonds and Clemens, those two. Because there's some other guys that have some other questionable stuff, but Bonds and Clemens were very good for a long time before the steroids. They don't, like, Sosa has the corked bat and all that. Like, they don't really have any other on-field controversies. They have some off-field, but not on-field. Should Bonds and Clemens be in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
I'm with you on that.
Absolutely. I mean, Barry Bonds is the greatest baseball player of all time, in my opinion. And Clemens was so dominant early on in his career. It was so long. And again, yes, there's something that helped him elongate his career. But they were so dominant. And in an era, again, in a steroid era, everyone's doing it. In a way, it's a leveled playing field. In a really fun way to put it, they should both be in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
So I'm with you. This is my thing. When you talk about the Hall of Fame, I think you have to go by era. Were you one of the best in your era among your peers? Because the 50th best player, the 100th best player in Major League Baseball today, you put him back in 1955. And where's he going to rank with the way players train now and just people being bigger and all of that, right? So you don't need to put all the steroids guys in. Just the ones who, even in that era, managed to separate themselves. So, like, Bonds you put in, right? Mm-hmm. Bonds hit all-time home runs leader, all that. Like, Rafael Palmeiro, 13th all-time in home runs. On paper, impressive, but he's like, what, 13th all-time, but is he top 10 in his era?
And that's what I always go with for any Hall of Fame conversation.
Yeah.
Were they the best of their time? Were they the best of their generation, of their era? And he wasn't that guy.
So who's ahead of, let's see, who's ahead of him that wasn't in that era? Aaron Ruth, Mays, Frank Robinson, Harmon Killebrew. So he wasn't a top 5 home run hitter in his era, even though he's 13th all time. I'm fine leaving him out. Bonds should be in. Pujols isn't it? He must not be eligible.
He has to not be eligible.
Yeah, he's not eligible yet. But yeah, I think the elite of the elites should be in, but it would be really cool if Cal Raleigh can, like, and I don't think he's going to hit 70, right? He's going to cool off.
Alex Rodriguez, you put him in?
Probably. Like, I was never a fan. He always bugged me, but Skaz is nodding. Like, I think you have to put him in. All right, so let's go through this. Sammy Sosa?
I don't put him in.
McGuire?
Yes, I put him in.
So Sammy hit more home runs than McGuire did.
He was also just a better baseball player than Mark McGuire, too.
Sammy all
was
around.
he, though? I don't know.
I think Sammy was a better baseball player.
It was also like the multiple levels of cheating, too. McGuire was just like all juice.
Well, Sosa had the juice and the bat.
And that's my thing. You had to cheat twice. Even when you get...
Oh, so you're putting McGuire in but not Sosa.
Yes.
If you're going to cheat once, I mean, might as well do it again, right?
I think their cases are relatively similar. I think you're putting both in or neither in.
Okay.
I don't know. And Mark McGuire was like one of the first ever jerseys I ever had. I remember this going to the 99 All-Star game. I got a McGuire jersey. My brother got a Sosa jersey. That was like a rivalry in our household for a while. So I always liked Mark McGuire. I think you draw the line after A-Rod. I think Sosa, McGuire, Palmeiro, those are guys that were like, you know, the numbers look good historically, but relative to the era, maybe aren't on that level.
A-Rod going in, it's a tough one, and it has to do a lot with just him being him. Even right now, like just one of the corniest guys out there. Weird thing to bother me. I hate that he's always wearing like a 3-piece suit or just a suit and tie all the time.
He's always. What is the deal with that?
I don't know, dude.
Why
just
does he
be
do
comfortable.
That? It's weird. It's definitely weird.
You have nothing to prove.
He's always dressed in
And like, why the Minnesota Timberwolves? There's definitely the why out there. Just too lazy to ever Google it. But why the Minnesota Timberwolves? He hasn't in with the team. Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably somebody in that ownership.
You're wearing a suit and tie every day for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota? Like, come on. Relax.
Oh, you're saying why is he? I can tell you why he owns the Timberwolves. I know why he dresses. Like, why does Brady own the Raiders? Because he has a relationship with Davis and all that. I'm sure somebody because
you have to get it in.
Right, he's not the majority owner.
No.
So
but like, yeah, why would you want the Timberwolves?
He's got that whole, what is it, A-Rod Corp or whatever? Somebody involved in that probably was putting together a bid, got him in.
And he's the guy too. Like when he's in the booth calling games, he feels like he needs to talk the whole time, but he doesn't want to say anything stupid. So he doesn't actually say anything. There's a lot to it. And it was just him as a baseball player. Most empty grand slams, most empty home runs. Walk-off grand slam, I'll never forget. I was in 7th grade. My history teacher at the time was an Orioles fan, so we gave him a lot of flack. Just like middle of the regular season, walk-off grand slam. Great, it's Orioles, man. It means nothing. Big-time moments, A-Rod would go down looking every time.
So he was Aaron Judge before Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Aaron
Judge in the postseason, man.
The garbage time home runs from that guy are insane. Like, I didn't really notice it was a thing until I started to see it on social media. Now I see it everywhere.
And then you watch him in the postseason.
It was nothing.
Numbers drop off completely.
This is why it's so frustrating that the Red Sox aren't going for it. Because the American League...
Wide open.
Wide ass open. I mean, there's not one team I truly believe in. Some teams are better than others. Like, on paper, the Yankees have a better roster than the Red Sox. But do I trust them in October?
Do they? Do you think Paul Goldschmidt keeps it up? Like, do they? They have Max Fried and Rodon. It's the same lineup. It's Dip and Jack.
They have a semblance of a bullpen.
I guess. Devin Williams is so up and down.
The gap's not as big, at least pre-Devers trade, the gap was not as big as we maybe thought it was at the beginning of the year. But I still don't trust them definitively in October. I don't trust any of those teams definitively in October.
No.
So, it almost feels like hockey-ish right now in baseball, where it's just get in. Doesn't matter what the seed is. Doesn't matter how you get there. Just get in and see what happens, and anything can happen. And, you get a gem from Garrett Crochet in game 1. Now you have all the momentum on your side.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be the road team to start. So if Crochet can get your road win in game 1, now maybe you're in position to win a series. Who would have thought?
I like how you
But they got to get in.
And it's also, Giolito, can he just continue it? He's been great since he figured it out. Can Bayo be that 3 guy? And if this is a team that buys in, it's adding in the bullpen, which is needed. But it would be getting a 4 or 5 starter because I don't know what you can get, if anything, out of Walker Buehler. It's getting healthy with Bregman being back. It's getting a bat. And it's asking for a lot, I know. But at the same time, it's also the young guys figuring out Willie Abreu putting together a complete season. Ceddanne Rafaela, I mean, just flying under the radar how good he's been as a bat. And then if Jarren Duran, I don't think he'll ever match last season, but can he be good? Can this team consistently be good? But then again, if you have those three guys, where's Roman Anthony? Is he DHing? I don't know.
It's also, you use the word consistency there. That's not exactly something we can use with the Boston Red Sox.
Even when they won those 4 straight series, I was about to come around, but I'm like, I still need to see more. Garrett Crochet's been consistent. Aroldis Chapman's been consistent. And that's really it with this team. The issues defensively, not knowing what to do on the base paths. It's just it's a boneheadedness every time. It's so mind-numbing. And I think where the frustration comes for me is we talk about it. The talent and the potential is there, but it's not being met by the actual results. And that's what's frustrating with this team. And again, and they know too, the players have said it, Alex Cora said it, they got to give the front office a reason to buy in. They're not doing that. But then the front office isn't helping them of, let's give you some support, so if we buy in, we get closer. It's just the wild card spot. Get in. You'd rather get a wild card than win your division. The issue with baseball in the postseason. Right. Your body shuts down.
Oh, they ruined their postseason. They had a great postseason format, and they ruined it. And I'm still mad about that, too. I'm mad about it a lot. We said we were going to talk football in that segment, and we didn't. So let's get check of the headlines, come back, talk football. Alex Barth, George Balekji on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
NHL free agency got underway today. The Bruins made multiple signings, highlighted by the addition of forward Tanner Jeannot on a 5-year deal worth $3.4 million per. The team also made a trade, adding Victor Arvidsson for a 5th-round pick. Meanwhile, the Celtics have made 2 additions in the last 24 hours. Center Luka Sports Hub. No Joe Murray tonight. Alex, Barth, George, Balekji in for Joe. We touched on a little bit of everything, so let's get to some football. Because it has been a sneaky busy couple days in the NFL, really for just one team. But it's been a sneaky busy couple days in the NFL with some of these dead season off-period roster moves. You had the blockbuster trade yesterday that sent Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith to the Steelers for Minkah Fitzpatrick. There's also a draft pick swap in there. And then today, this one came out of nowhere. The Dolphins getting Darren Waller, the previously retired Darren Waller, to focus on his rap career. That's what we could have used as a rejoin Skaz. We could have gotten some Darren Waller pumping.
Oh, some bars.
I did. I looked for some Darren Waller. Tough to find censored Darren Waller content.
Oh, okay. I see.
You ever see the music video, like him face down on the beach, water's hitting his face?
No, I think the only music video I've seen is the one that was like in front of the stadium with the car.
See, I didn't see that. I think I'm just better off. I wish I never saw it. He was great those 2 seasons, man.
He really was. But he's like 32 now. He took a year off. I guess why not? It's all conditional picks in that trade. The Giants weren't doing anything with him.
And it's all contract valued up to. Like, he's going to get there, and if he's dust, you cut him. No loss.
Yeah.
How is this your plan, though, at tight end?
So,
a really key piece in your offense.
I want to take that question a step further. How is this, any of this, any bit of this, your plan if you're the Miami Dolphins? I'm going to give you Miami's depth chart here real quick. At quarterback, they have Tua. His backup is Zach Wilson. Not great.
And the backup to that, Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers, not great.
No.
And then Brett Gabbert, oddly enough. They do a couple running backs. Devon Achane, Jalen Wright is a good player. Alexander Madison, Ollie Gordon. Wide receiver, they still have talent. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Malik Washington. They added Nick Westbrook and Keenan in free agency. But they still, that's all dependent on a quarterback that gets hurt quite a bit. Here's the Miami Dolphins offensive line.
Oh, we're talking O-line. I love it.
Left tackle, Patrick Paul, a guy I liked in the draft, but is completely and totally unproven. And there's really no other options there. On the interior, James Daniels, who's not like a proven starter type player. Jackson Carman, who's kicked around the league and hasn't proven much. Liam Eichenberg, who's on the back end. And Jonas Savanaia, a rookie tackle converting to guard. They have Austin Jackson at right tackle. Aaron Brewer's a good center, but like that's not a good line.
For a quarterback that is one hit from who knows what his career is. And that you need the run game to flow, too, for this offense to click. This whole semblance, and I got caught in the juice. I got caught in the Kool-Aid. I was sipping it. When the offense is clicking, it is very fun to watch with the Dolphins. But it clicks to like week 3.5, and then the pieces fall apart. But this is such an unserious, soft team. And I was drinking the Kool-Aid of Mike McDaniels. Had nothing to do with the shades. Had nothing to do with the joggers. Had nothing to do with the press conferences. I can't stand listening to his answers. It had all to do with the football. I'm so off on the Dolphins all around.
You know why it doesn't click, and I'm trying to pull this up here. Their splits against teams over 500 versus teams under 500 under McDaniel are terrible.
And that's a legitimate real football team versus soft football team.
It's bad coaching. It's a bad team.
It's like the Patriots splits towards the end of the Belichick era, which mattered. Their record versus starting quarterbacks, legit quarterbacks, and then all the backups they were facing.
So meanwhile, then you had that other trade. The Steelers give up a guy that I think might be a top 10 defensive player in football in Minkah Fitzpatrick. For Jalen Ramsey, he's not bad, but it's kind of just an older, more injured version of Minkah Fitzpatrick.
And it's like a name recognition thing with Jalen Ramsey at this point, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's still good,
play,
but he's not.
Corner.
Yeah,
he's not Jaguars Jalen Ramsey, or even at a point Rams Jalen Ramsey.
And then Arthur Smith had to get himself Jonnu Smith back in that deal.
Hilarious. The guy that didn't know how to use Kyle Pitts is like, I want Jonnu Smith.
The Steelers tight end room is kind of loaded. Pat Freiermuth, Connor Hayward, Jonnu Smith, Darnell Washington. That's a good group. But so oddly enough, the Patriots weeks 2 and 3 play the Steelers and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So they're going to get a look at both sides of this trade right away. The Steelers will find a way to make it work because Mike Tomlin's going to find a way to make it work. And I don't know that they're going to beat the Patriots, right? That game feels like a toss-up to me, but they'll flirt with being around 500, 9-8, something like that, and they'll be in the playoffs or just miss it. Miami, especially if, and I hate to do this because obviously not rooting for injuries, but if or when Tua gets hurt, like if Tua misses significant time, is Miami going to pick in the top 5 next year? Like the Patriots, if the Patriots are the worst team in the AFC East again, something went horribly wrong because they're on paper significantly better than the Miami Dolphins at this point. This Dolphins team is limping into the season.
And again, the whole reason you're bringing a Vrabel too, those one possession losses, which the Patriots had 6 of them, I believe, last season, those become wins. The reason you bring in a Vrabel is we see the coaching staff he brought with him, how legit it is from top to bottom, in most rooms, in most positions, of course. That's why you bring him in. If they finish behind the Dolphins, yes, exactly. That is disaster. And this is a Patriots team, too. Very unproven offensive line. Morgan Moses at right tackle is legit. Graham Bradbury at center is legit.
There's more raw talent
than
what Miami has. I don't think it's close. Now, this isn't as bad as what the Patriots had last year.
No, that was the worst offensive line in football.
This time last year, so somebody asked me last week, they're like, how do you feel about the Patriots offensive line going this year? I said, much better than last year. Like, wow, you think they're like really going to be good, huh? I'm like, no.
They should be average.
It's just more about how bad I felt about last year. This time last year, we didn't know who either of the starting tackles were going to be.
Yeah.
Think about that. At least we know. Morgan Moses is older. Will Campbell's unproven. There's questions, but we know who they're going to be. We didn't know last year, and this Dolphins team is going to be very interesting. It's to your point about Vrabel. The quote I keep going back to, if you listen to me on here, I go to this quote I think at least once a show when I'm on. He was asked about what he wanted the pillars to be for his program when at his introductory press conference. This was back in January before he'd really done anything. And he gave like a kind of little preamble, and then he basically said, we're not good enough to take advantage of bad football. That's where we need to start. We need to take advantage of bad football. And then he kind of mentioned also cutting down on the bad football of their own. You look at the Patriots' schedule this year, if they can simply take advantage of bad football, and they're going to see a lot of it. Again, you look at this Dolphins team. We'll see where the Steelers are. Some of the other opponents on their schedule. They have that 3-week run, I think, of, I forget the exact order, Titans, Browns, Saints.
3 straight rookie quarterbacks.
Right. They're going to see a lot of bad football. We'll know right away just how much Mike Vrabel's changed, because he said in that press conference, we are not good enough to take advantage of bad football right now. He said that in January before he'd made any coaching hires, any draft picks, free agents, whatever. So ideally by now they're good enough, or they're going to be good enough week 1 to take advantage of bad football. That's going to get put to the test right away, and we're going to know right away just what kind of change Mike Vrabel can bring.
And that's also with a stretch too. When they face Cincinnati, they're coming off a Thursday night game against the Jets. That's extra prep. When they face Buffalo at home, coming off of their bye, extra prep, and obviously extra rest. It's a stretch of rookie quarterbacks. And yes, they faced Josh Allen twice, of course. They faced Joe Burrow, and they faced Lamar Jackson. The rest of it is like good quarterback play at best. And then all the rookies and a lot of bad quarterback play as well, like a Justin Fields. Like there's a Baker mixed in there. There's a Penix in the Falcons. I think that's a trap game. Could be dicey. But it's Geno Smith. He's okay.
Yeah.
Tua, when he'll be healthy, but he won't be by the second time they see him. It's like Bryce Young. This schedule is so far in front of them, and they don't have a bad West Coast trip. I think the furthest west they go is Tennessee.
Yeah, they don't. We got into this on the podcast, and I don't remember what it was. I don't think they leave the Eastern time zone, but I'm really bad with time zones.
New Orleans has to be central.
Yeah, New Orleans, that's right. That's their furthest west trip.
So it is New Orleans is their furthest trip. Nice. And when they leave the Eastern time zone.
Nashville? What's Nashville?
When they leave the Eastern time zone, all of a sudden, you know who they're seeing? Tyler Shuck. Like, yeah, that's fine. And the Saints, who are the biggest, like...
Nashville is central, by the way.
There we go. Okay, now we know.
So they have 2 trips.
To central time zone at worst.
At worst, yep.
And it's going to be facing rookie quarterbacks both times, too. This is a schedule that falls in their favor. And what I did was when it came out, we saw them in the weeks late. I tried, I do it multiple times. Win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. I go through it.
It's a famous sports of exercise. Yes.
Right. I love doing it. It's fun. And I got to the point where I had to stop because I gave them 12 wins. That's way too much.
Well, I was at 10. I felt bad. You weren't quite Taylor Kyle's 13, but here's the thing when you do that exercise, because I remember when I did it, and then I'm like driving home, and I was like, I really just gave a team that won 4 games last year, and really 3, 10 wins. Like, why the hell did I do that? And then it's like, you're not, when you do that exercise, when I do that exercise, I don't think I'm picking it in the mindset of prediction, because there's so much we don't know in terms of injuries and this and that. I'm more so thinking games they should win. Mm-hmm. The Patriots have 10 games on their schedule this year that they realistically should win. Now, they had about 7 of those last year, and they won 3 of them. So, and this goes back to the end of Bill, too. They weren't winning games they should win. So that's what it's going to come down to me, and that's where I brought that Vrabel quote came back to me. I was like, somebody was saying something about winning the games they should win. Who was it? Oh, it was the new head coach they hired. It's a pillar of his program. So when you do that 10 wins, 12 wins, whatever you want to call it, I don't know where you got 12. They should win.
It was weird.
I felt aggressive with 10. I don't feel uncomfortable saying there's 10 games on this schedule the Patriots realistically could win.
Yes.
But, 10 games you should win. Are you going to even win all of those even if you're good? No, you're going to have a game here or there that you slip up, and you'll probably have some games you lose that you should win. But, for where they are, young quarterback, new head coach, massive, massive roster overhaul, they should win 10. They win 7, and then you steal a win in one of those games you should lose. Maybe you beat Buffalo one time.
I give them the coaching. I know Josh Allen, Superman. I give them a serious coaching advantage.
McDermott's a terrible coach. I'm glad to hear you say that. McDermott is another overrated coach.
And that's where I kind of got to 12, where coaching advantage over McDaniels. Dave Canales said Carolina's not there.
No.
Buffalo, and even too, where I do get crazy to a point, but at Cincinnati, extra prep, coming off a Thursday night game, that defense is terrible. They may not be with their top first-round pick, and they may be without their best defensive player in Trey Hendrickson. That ownership, I could go on a whole side tangent how cheap they are, but that's where these wins come in. I give them the nod over Todd Bowles, too. Again, with another change in offensive coordinator.
That's a sneaky tough game. I think I had him losing that one.
At Tampa.
Again, you should win 10. Can you win 7? And then maybe you steal a win against Buffalo, or maybe Lamar is hurt at the end of the year. That kind of happens sometimes. You steal one there. Maybe the Bengals, you just have their number. They can get there. They get, but they can't get there playing like they've played. Things have to change, but they can get there.
Even think about when they beat the Bengals week 1 last season. I forget that happened, erased from my mind. The miscues they had.
That might as well have been 10 years ago at
right?
this point.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
These football lives watching this team. It's a tight end fumbling, stretching for the goal line. It's a fumble on a punt return too, recovered by the Patriots.
Didn't they also some really dumb clock thing in that game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was for once we saw smart football for the Patriots. Go figure, it's week 1.
Right.
What is it? Take them to the hill, all that.
Take them
the T-shirts.
We thought take them to the hill was going to be this whole thing. And then they got taken to the hill in week 2, and they never looked, they only looked back, I guess the term would be. But, we'll see. All right, we're going to take a break here, wrap it up on the other side. Alex Barth, George Balekji on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.